Making dinner. You gotta eat. Gotta eat. Come on, Steam. Notification. Leave. What are you more loyal to? Donald Trump? Constitution. Constitution or Donald Trump? Let's see which one wins. Okay. Like, subscribe, join Discord. What flavor? What flavor? Candy? We're talking about candy? Is that what we're talking about? I gotta get my Call of Duty out, dude. I'll be playing Call of Duty when I talk to people. For real. I need a second screen for playing games. How would that work? If I wanted a screen for the side here. For the corner of the screen. That'd be pretty difficult. That would be pretty difficult to pull off, I assume. I mean, it wouldn't be visible. That's the only concern there, really. But if I have it like this on X, and then I have this, I just don't want to block anything. Maybe I'll block the bottom, but then that'll be the chat. I can't put it up here because no one can see it then. I don't want to put it up here because that blocks my whole topic. Maybe I could just turn it on and off when I want to watch something, or does this ruin the chat if I put it down here? I'm assuming it does, if I had to guess. I have to make a new format for this, probably. Whatever. Why would I care? As if the biggest goal of mine is to play video games. Who would do that? LOL, you're the problem. The first dumb comment of the night. Here's your reward. I also need to add a new emoji for the thing. I want to add a dumbass emoji. I'm just not sure how far you can take that. You know what I mean? I feel like a dumbass emoji would go hard. Or a dumbass, maybe I could do that real quick. Dumbass. Rage bait. No, I want to have good conversations about the future of America, dumbass. Okay, Elizabeth Warren. We have the funding for the fire departments. Elon Musk shares Russian propaganda. My first caller, who's going to be a fake person. Guaranteed. I bet any money on it. I actually don't care. I'm going to leave it unmuted. Why would I care what they say?
Call from
Juan Padilla.
To accept, press 1.
Oh boy. Hi, beautiful. That's a good sign. It's always a good sign. We're gonna start doing Discord only calls. We give too much privilege to MAGA around here, but they still don't respect it. How about Mark Zuckerberg, okay? How about Mark Zuckerberg, baby? So Mark Zuckerberg can do okay, like, it's crazy. Mark Zuckerberg can do a or better worded, Mark Zuckerberg can testify in front of Congress about how Meta, his company, was stealing Americans' information and using it in a pretty illegal or dishonest or extremely bad way in their advertising scheme. And right now, I guarantee you they're doing the same with like AI development. That same person says with Joe Rogan, oh, I don't even know what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does. Like, what does the Consumer Protection Bureau do? What do they do? What could they possibly do? All billionaires need to do is talk about your dumb social topics, and you'll hop right on board. You'll be okay with all the rich people having all the money if they believe in your social topics. It's really sad. You should feel emasculated.
Call from
Ryan.
to
Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fairly well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's actually not that late for me on a Saturday, but yeah, it's pretty late. Ready to chat about whatever.
All right. What's it called? I actually called in a couple of weeks ago, and you said you were going to, and I go out liberal me, but I did kind of want to talk about like foreign policy and such. If you were down for that.
Yeah, we're just getting started here, so I definitely want to get a good conversation to start it off with, so I'm good to do whatever you'd like.
All right. Trump has said a lot about pretty much just either annexing or militarily taking over the Panama Canal. What is your stance on that, just to make sure that we're both out in the open on that?
From my limited understanding, we sold the Panama Canal in like 1999, and we have pretty free use of it. What he says about the Chinese military being stationed there isn't true. There's some Chinese companies like everywhere, and there are American companies as well everywhere. But he talks about it like they own militarily this port, and that's not true. But as far as annexing it and invading it and taking it over, it doesn't really make much sense to me. I don't understand how that process would even work. I don't know why that's even a conversation we're having right now. Yeah, so I'm really confused as to why that's even something we're talking about, to be honest, because you never talked about that before. Like on the campaign trail, we never heard about it. We never even like even in his first term, we never really heard about that.
Well, he is correct about the Chinese influence in Panama. China has named them like the most favored foreign nation, and they have a ton of influence over the ports coming on both sides of the Panama Canal. So I can understand from a national security standpoint, from the maritime, uh, basically the security over our trade ports and making sure that we aren't just completely separated from our western and eastern half in terms of our naval capability. If it comes down to it, I can understand why he would want to pressure Panama back into the American sphere of influence away from China, especially when it comes down to, for instance, like if a war with China were to occur and the pressure that they put on Panama and such, like you said, there's no military capabilities there at the moment, but the ties with China are getting closer and closer and closer.
What did you say they declared China? You said they said China was something like a close partner, or you said some type of phrase earlier.
China, if I'm not mistaken, named Panama its most favored foreign nation.
China
They've
named
had
Panama their most favored foreign nation. Okay.
they have worked very, very closely with Panama, importing tons and tons of workers there. There's no military presence there, but there is a large local population that would be favorable to the People's Republic of China. I'm fairly big on like historical precedents and realpolitik. The issue that I would have with the Panama Canal falling in Chinese sphere of influence is the similar situation to how the Union defeated like the Confederacy back in 1886, basically just splitting them down the middle using the Mississippi River. It would be fairly similar by preventing American naval capacity by passing through the Panama Canal. Now, whether it's America is capable of peacefully taking Panama into its sphere of influence and making sure that it doesn't fall into either disrepair or be completely destroyed in the process, that's a completely different situation. I don't agree with Trump on like a military invasion of Panama, but it does need to be in the conversation as to how America can bring Panama back into its own sphere.
You're saying a lot of different things about America needing them back in, their area of the world, being more focused on the West than the East, I assume. But also, it seems like if you have an issue with a lot of Chinese investment there, that you'd have more American investment there or incentivize it, because we do have, I'm just looking up the population numbers. From what I can find from like the world population review from census data that's available, Panama's population is like 4 50% Chinese, which is I think around 200,000 people or 150,000, somewhere in that range. And the U.S. Citizen population there is I believe like 50,000 to 70,000 or something like that. So it's around those numbers. So if there was a concern there about influence, I'd probably say that we do the typical invest in that area more. If you're saying you're not going to rule out military, activity someday in the event of wartime, I feel like that's a huge domino or set of dominoes that would have to fall to get to that point. Talking about that right now doesn't make any sense at all. And I don't even know where this came from. I never heard a conservative talk about this. I never heard anyone talk about this other than like a Donald Trump. So it is confusing why he would randomly bring this up. Do you know who Donald Trump has as advisors that would encourage him to talk in this way or to even talk about this issue, including, I guess, you could include maybe Greenland. I'm trying to think who in his team told him about this because he never knew about this before, really. He never really talked about it.
Very likely people like Mike Pompeo and the people and that one guy who was at the Fox News host who should have never been in the conversation for
Pete Hegseth.
Defense Secretary. Yeah, Pete Hegseth, that guy. That absolute moron. Like,
okay. Yeah, I feel like a regular conversation about that would be like, there's influence there. We should probably add more incentivization for like, American investments there, if that was the big thing.
Yeah, I agree that we need more investment there. The issue comes from, Panama is very likely wary of American investment thanks to the history with like Chiquita Banana in the northern parts of like Central America. The big thing that happened is that American investment basically went hand in hand with overthrowing governments in Central America for years and years and years. And still to this day, America likes to go around with the CIA and pretty much just flop its dick on the table and take out whoever the hell they don't want in power. So I think that, oh yeah, definitely. Like, it's a problem both.
Oh, I'm muted. I asked him. Sorry, I was muted for the stream. I asked, do you think it's a problem that there's that view of America from Panama citizens? That's negative.
Yeah, definitely. That's one that is going to be very, very difficult to overcome. Being realistic, it's not going to be possible to completely take off the table just due to the very extensive history there.
Well, if that's a problem already, wouldn't Donald Trump's rhetoric worldwide, and this is what happens with rhetoric, and this is why rhetoric does matter. You have countries reestablishing military fortifications, defense capabilities, and now we have there seems to be reports within Panama from Trump's rhetoric that they are becoming even more anti-American investment, even after some years of recovery of the perspective of American leadership among polling, with like 30% of Panama citizens saying they approve of American leadership, 14% saying they disapprove, and then like 50% saying that they don't really know how to view it. But now with Donald Trump making these statements, and we're seeing this with a couple or a few countries around the world, including Canada. Like Canada right now is having extremely retaliatory rhetoric to Trump. So I feel like him talking about this is making the situation even worse, to the point where if your situation that you're talking about here were to happen, we would need to use more, direct hard power or military power if anything bad ever happened, because now we're losing influence with the people there. So would you agree that him talking about this is pretty bad? And even if it was like when he talks about China and Russia and any country that actually matters right now, he says, I wouldn't tell you those plans. I can't tell you those super serious plans. Why'd I tell you? I don't want them to know. I don't want the other people to know my plans. Why would he announce this now? It's only a tool of rhetoric and a tool of messaging. So if that's going to make Panama less likely to work with America now and more antagonistic, not antagonistic, but more defensive of American presence, it seems like that rhetoric is pretty damaging to that.
And it's definitely damaging to like a diplomatic alliance table. It's not as damaging if you're looking at things from like a perspective of, hey, we want them to do we want them to go along with whatever we say, so we need to like make them afraid. Now, I disagree with that approach. I think it's a terrible, terrible approach, at least on like the Western Hemisphere and in a lot of cases where these smaller countries, especially in the Americas, can be worked with directly. But
Yeah,
it
and
is
that's
a
been really
tactic
successful, especially with
yeah,
like immigration right now. Like the Biden-Harris administration working from all the way from Venezuela all the way up through Mexico on immigration and different checkpoints and different ways to process migration claims in general has really been the driving force in the past 6 month reduction in border crossings. We've had a good opportunity to work with countries. Not only in Central America but also South America, so I feel like that potential is pretty high, or it's usually pretty high. But I think that's a really big issue Trump kind of gives is that those diplomatic ties are almost impossible. They need to be done through strength, like you said. So either we get into a real war, which is probably unlikely, or we get into a trade war, which I think would be something where everyone is hurt by that. Every consumer in every country is hurt by the trade war. And then if the trade war gets too bad, then you make more chaos and military action more likely. Would you disagree with any of that?
no. Just to completely clarify, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump. I did prefer him over Kamala in some instances. Like I do think that his foreign policy in certain aspects is better. But by and large, I'm not a huge proponent of defending him. I did want to just put that out there. I just think that when it comes to Panama Canal, especially, taking military force completely off the table is going to hurt the longer term diplomatic talks in terms of like what is this person willing to do? How do we completely avoid a situation like this?
Yeah, but
Uh,
announcing that when you're not even in office yet has a mechanism, or you have like you do that with intent. Okay, you say that with
yeah,
intent before you even take office. You don't need to say that publicly, and then when someone will ask you like, oh, would you roll out military intervention? He could have literally just said, I'm not going to tell you what the plan is, like he does with literally everything. So he had to say for the specific scenario. He wants the entire world to know that he is considering, either with our allies or Panama, which we've had decent relationships with. He's considering this violent action, which in my perspective, I feel that he's doing a lot of what he typically does, where he pokes everyone, he screams at everyone, he kind of gets everyone to notice him and get mad at him, and then when they finally do say something back at him or do like retaliatory tariffs or economic policy, just like he does in his personal life, it's sort of the thing of the abuser where they talk down to someone, they beat someone up. That person finally responds, says, "You're an asshole." And then you say, "See, this is why I do this. This is why I need to do this now." I feel like he's doing that with a bunch of different countries where he's scaring our allies to the point where like Canada is like, "Hey, we're going to do tariffs. We're just going to do tariffs to prevent this. We want to show strength." He's bringing nationalism into all these conversations, and nationalism is inherently chaotic and violent. So I just think him saying that creates a more chaotic and radical globe, which I think might be by intent, because I think, in my opinion, the people that are with Donald Trump in the White House are very oriented towards the governments around the world falling apart, which is why Elon Musk is dumping money into like every free country's elections. He would never dare touch. He would never dare touch or say anything bad about China or Russia, of course. Musk would never. But they seem to want to
yeah, Musk
destabilize
is
our
terrible.
allies globally.
And, like, I don't even really want to get into Elon Musk at the moment. He's an embarrassment, but
Yeah, he's an extension, but like the China stuff is like really bad, obviously. And also we're talking about
yeah,
banning TikTok because being owned by China, but then Elon Musk literally gets a bill to take out a provision that would have stopped him from investing in China, and we have the same security concerns with the richest man in the world, and we're not like I don't know. It's the Supreme Court was crazy the other day.
yeah.
But yeah, we can wrap up this topic however you want.
Like, if we want to go deeper into Elon and such, my opinion on him is that he bribed his way into a made-up political office, and that he should likely be in prison for basically subverting our election laws. But I mean, that's off the topic of foreign influence and diplomacy and such. Outside of the Panama Canal, looking at the Canada situation, you were saying that it's heavily increased tensions and such there.
Yeah. So for
I can
example,
like
oh yeah, you can go. You can
go
go.
on.
No, I'm just gonna say about like the tariffs they're talking about. They've spoken like the Pierre, I forget his last name, but the Conservative Party's leader, was talking about maintaining Canadian strength and talking in nationalistic tones, saying how they love being Canadian. That's one of their defining characteristics, and also they should be really hard with tariffs. And they've also talked about how America, 50% of our crude oil imports, I'm pretty sure, I think light crude oil is from Canada. And Canada and the U.S. has a very favorable relationship for both countries, especially the U.S. with cheap energy. And they've been talking about restricting that, ending that relationship, and opening their own refineries, which I don't know how much of that is talk or real possibility, because conservative politicians love waving around threats, even if they're empty, to try and, I mean, not conservative, but like nationalist, borderline conservative, you know what I mean? They love waving around these threats. If either country does this, it results in a trade war. It results in a lot of escalation and conflict with a country that's right above us, that we've had great relations with, great economic deals with. We both benefited greatly, and even Trump talking about it as, we subsidize Canada because there's a trade deficit. And it's like, no, trade deficits are normal for wealthy countries. A trade surplus actually is not correlative at all with quality of life, because that probably means you're in a country that's doing a lot of base level manufacturing if you have a trade surplus. But we have a trade deficit with China, or with Canada, I mean, which is not even descriptive of the entire case, because we do shipping that is, Canada ships through America sometimes if it's cheaper and gets it sent through ground to Canada. We ship through Canada sometimes and have it sent to America if it's cheaper. We have a really good deal with them. So I think Trump talking about this in general is really hurting economic literacy for people. And then Canada responding with this anger and whatever, it just seems to be mutually destructive for both sides. I don't see how either side comes out, in a better position as a result of what's happening right now with Canada.
Yeah. From what I understand, Trump has walked back some of like the Canadian things. I think he said, wouldn't it be great if there was like no border there and we could do like these economic ties, and basically talking about Canada as if he was wanting to implement a sort of European Union-esque trade agreement with Canada.
Yeah, but also, what else did he want? What else did he ask Canada to do though, recently?
Go ahead and inform me. That's the
He went
thing
super
that I don't
hard.
remember most about
He went extremely hard. Okay, on saying that he's using tariffs to leverage so that he can make Canada protect their borders and make their borders stronger, because there's too many people crossing over from Canada that we can't track, even though illegal immigration from Canada is like 0.5% of our total border crossings in general. But he wants to bolster those borders, and also he wants the EU free trade zone, and also they want small government, but also they want to ban food dyes, which is like a overbearing EU big government policy. So he's talking both sides of his mouth, which is usually what like a populist, I won't say the words fascist or authoritarian or communist, but it's usually what like an extreme populist does. They take both sides of every issue. They say whatever's popular in that moment. So I don't know we don't know what he's going to do. And I know Trump supporters say like, yeah, that's a good part about him. I'm like, no, like that's literally the worst aspect you can possibly have in a world leader, is someone who we have no idea what he's going to do next. We don't even know if he's developing Alzheimer's like Reagan was, because Reagan was in office with that, and it runs in Trump's family. So we don't even know, because he doesn't really talk in detail. He just answers in very broad terms like, we're going to do it big. We're going to get it done. Big, good things. You're stupid. And that's it. So I don't even know if there's a brain behind there, or who's really like giving these ideas and who's in control. So that's all a big concern to me.
Yeah, the big thing with it, I'm hoping that it goes towards the more European Union-esque like trade zone, and we finally start dropping these like, let's tariff Canada, Canada's going to tariff America. But realistically, with the way that Trump has been doing it recently, I don't see that as a complete and total realistic scenario. It could happen, but like you said, we don't really know. The big thing is that at least it's on the table according to Trump's rhetoric, but I don't fully believe everything that he says.
I also don't know how that'd be different from like the USMCA that we have now. Like how much functional difference that would have. It just doesn't make sense. Like, oh, you're gonna be the 51st state. We're gonna say you're not even a country. And the whole goal is to have a EU style trading zone with you. So we want more like economic trade between the two countries. It's in complete contradiction with his nationalist rhetoric. Like it's complete contradiction to everything he ran on. But I don't know which one he's actually going to do, or push for.
Well, his trade zone things have been more recent. So what I imagine happened is that he started talking this big shit about Canada, and then he noticed that it wasn't as popular as he thought it was going to be, and so he's walking it back and talking more favorably about Canada and trying to sort of lessen the tensions there, because it genuinely did kind of blow up in his face in terms of his like public appeal around this specific topic. There's been a lot more support when he was talking about like, the Panama Canal or Greenland than he was about probably one of, if not the closest ally that we have in Canada. The only other one that comes to mind that could even be compared to it is Australia.
I mean, even Greenland, he uses all these different terms like national security concerns and everything, and Greenland doesn't make any sense at all. We already have capacity to monitor what he spoke about in Greenland. We have no issues. We could probably build more bases there if we wanted to right now. But also, it's not even even entertaining this discussion, and I'll definitely I have other callers as well. Definitely, thank you for hopping on. But this is one of those conversations where I'm like, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Louisiana Purchase, and we're talking about like policies from the 1800s. When he said "Make America Great Again," I did not think he was going to go. Maybe 1980. I didn't think he was going to go 1800s for all these policies, including like the Insurrection Act and whatever else. Like we just keep bringing up all these things that happened in the 1800s, including just like seizing land and having constant land disputes, because that was like the worst part of human history. Is just like constant fighting over land, and now we finally have borders and we have sovereignty for nations, and we're able to go off of that ground, even if it's not perfect. And we have countries like Russia and China and apparently the U.S. threatening those lines. Even if it's just rhetoric, it's giving justification as well. Whatever Donald Trump says has a ripple effect all throughout the globe. So all these authoritarian leaders, they play the Trump clips in these countries because Donald Trump is a global demagogue. Like he does not just, he's not just limited to the U.S. So I do think what he's saying is like extremely destructive. And I mean, the fact we're even talking about this and not about he still never had a healthcare plan. He still never had an actual inflation plan. He still never had an actual plan to get gas prices down. There's zero anything. And he has us talking about this, which is like, I don't know. It's just kind of wild.
The only thing about this conversation that I'd say is that whenever we're trying to like talk about this stuff, it's but Trump did this, but Trump did this, but Trump did this. It's not really engaging with anything that's actually being said here. Like talking about like the Panama Canal and how it could be used. You said, we're talking about like 1800 stuff. No, I'm talking about the strategy that was used by the Union to separate the Confederacy in half and completely militarily dominate them. That is something that could happen using the Panama Canal against us. It's a very, very important naval base for pretty much anybody who wants to operate in the Western Hemisphere. I don't see how wanting to bring that back into the American sphere of influence is like a bad thing. Even if we want to include like military things on the table, that is almost a necessity. It's comparable to like would Denmark prefer to control like the Kessel Canal?
I mean, you have to realize too, when we talk about like global conflict and global anything, there's 140 countries that use the Panama Canal. So we're not just talking about China. We're not talking about Panama. We're not talking about any of that. We're not talking about China having military control of the region. If they want to if you think this is an issue and you want to leverage economic forces to have more investments from Americans there to make everyone feel better, definitely. But saying we should be seizing this area is something that involves the entire globe. And under this leadership, I do not think the terms would be fair under America's amazing plan for this. It's just something that we're all, the entire globe is intertwined in. It seems like something that would start a war versus preventing one. I'd rather focus on other global stability issues. Like not supporting Ukraine has much more rapid deteriorative policies, after effects than this would. I would argue. This is something that's not even happening right now, and Ukraine is, Trump's going to pull all funding from Ukraine, at least most of it. But you can give like a final statement too.
Like when it comes to like just talking about the Ukraine thing, like this is one of the things that I actually tend to agree with Donald Trump on, is that we need to cut our foreign aid down a little bit. with inflation on the rise, with
it just
our
doesn't make any
military
sense.
surplus down.
No, that doesn't make
No,
any
listen,
sense at all when it comes to the
let me finish
facts.
my point. Let me finish my point.
But you're saying things that are fake, and
With a
you're saying a really destructive thing off of really bad pretense. And with if you tie Ukraine,
my point.
one thing
You are not letting me
Ukraine,
finish my point,
buddy. No,
This is
you're
not a
saying a really
conversation if
damaging
you don't
point.
let me talk. Okay?
This is my show. No, this is my show. Okay,
I don't give a
I want to
shit
get
if
the
it's your show.
facts right.
That's
Stop
like,
crying. Stop crying. I don't want you to lie. If you tie inflation to Ukraine spending, you don't know how inflation works. Okay? Because you don't know how Ukraine spending works either.
What I am saying
don't tie inflation
is about our military surplus, how our strategic reserves in our military supply are lowered. We use the data that we got from the Russo-Ukrainian war to increase our own military surplus, our reserves, our ammunition, everything else. Make sure that we use the fact that, drone warfare has been a massive part of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Put our spending where it needs to be, increase our actual technological advantage over the rest of the world in the military, and then we can talk about afterward, hey, why not do some foreign aid to Ukraine? Why not do some of these things that actually influence the world in the way that we want to? But if we're completely and totally pouring a huge amount of our armory into this foreign war, sure, it's getting things done. It is keeping Russia pretty much in a stranglehold in the Ukraine. And that's kind of what we want. But we also want to make sure that our own strategic reserves in our military are not falling to the wayside.
There's no evidence that there's any of our own any of our own reserves or our own technology or our own military is not being hurt by this.
You don't think that throwing tons and tons and tons of military aid at this one country on the planet is in any way impacting our own reserves? But
it's
the
not.
Equipment that we're sending comes from us. Why not
use
the data that we're getting from that?
And Americans are getting paid to reproduce weapons, to produce weapons again and produce more modern weapons. Americans are being paid directly to produce these weapons, to replace the ones that we send over.
The military-industrial complex. I'm familiar. I live in a town with an army depot.
Only like 10% of the money we sent Ukraine is even U.S. cash. We have loans. We have. We're not just handing paychecks. Exactly. We're sending mostly outdated equipment, and we're replacing it with more modern equipment, and Americans are getting paid for it. It's just not. It doesn't make sense tying it to inflation, tying it to the economy, tying it to our military's capabilities. None of that makes sense in relation to Ukraine. In fact, if we want to keep Americans safe and if we want the globe to be more stable, supporting Ukraine is also pro-American troops, because we're not even having boots on the ground. We're not having American soldiers in the line of fire. We're supporting another country, a people that's being invaded by a dictatorship.
This is a fucking
in Russia.
argument that the French monarchy used and got fucking collapsed from.
Defending. Okay, wait, no. National sovereignty did not exist when the French monarchy was in prominence. We're talking about the global. We're talking about the global alliances that we have today. The global makeup of today. There's no historic precedent for Russia invading Ukraine, and we should just let them take.
This is a proxy war.
Rewriting Ukraine's borders today is worse for global stability than anything we can do as far as sending them money. And it puts more of our troops in danger as Russia continues to destabilize more regions of the world.
It's almost like it went in one ear, out the other.
I'm sorry you don't know how inflation or military spending works.
You keep saying inflation. I'm saying inflation is on the rise. That is a problem. But that also goes in hand with the fact that our military surplus is dwindling, that we are losing equipment on this foreign conflict. We paused the aid in sending massive amounts of equipment here to get our own stockpile up and then restart it. Just because I'm not jerking myself off to a fucking blue and yellow flag 24/7 doesn't mean I want.
I don't do that either. I'm just not stupid. When it comes to our military capabilities, the surplus is not that hindered. You're saying that it's dwindling, which is a dumb statement. It's like saying the fire department in LA, their budget is dwindling because it went from 837 million to 820 million. It's not dwindling.
In that statement you made, you acknowledged that it's lowering.
It's lowering, but not dwindling. It's not threatening American
equipment.
Stop
We're getting
using big
data
words.
back.
You're saying dwindling and massive amounts. Those are statements that are not true. America's capabilities when it comes to military and national defense have not been hindered by this. Just because our surplus is not the exact level
They
that it was.
absolutely have.
How is it hindering national security? What weapons that we sent over are hindering national? Yeah, which weapons are hindering national security?
Primarily, we're sending over small arms, ammunition, and I believe we sent over a hefty amount of like Javelin missiles and such that are no longer in our armory. Yes, they are being used for the original purpose of attacking the Russian sphere of influence and keeping them from expanding into Europe. I agree with that. However, we have sent over a massive amount. There is a certain breaking point where we have to say, okay, we have sent a shit ton. We have to then pause for just like maybe even a couple of months to get our own stockpile back to make sure that we are capable of having a conflict longer than 2 weeks on our own.
Okay. Sounds good. But yeah, I think I agree with your earlier point that drone warfare matters a lot today. I think the weapons we sent over, they are pretty outdated in general. It's not like we're sending our brand new equipment. We are replacing these stockpiles rapidly. When it comes to American national security, I have read no reports at all. What do you have like a report from our military or Department of Defense at all that says that we're like dwindling and we're at a national security threat as a result of weapons that we sent to Ukraine?
If you want to do the Destiny thing and just say that, oh, hey, give me the very specific thing.
Sorry, I asked for any proof for your argument. Sorry, I asked for any. Do you just think this? Do you just have the vibes in the air? You want to bring up Destiny again, another online commentator? Do you want to actually talk about the issue or just talk about your vibes? It's dwindling, guys. It's dwindling. We can barely even defend ourselves. We can barely provide any food to eat because we can't have the exact stockpile we had 10 months ago.
Thing. That's amazing.
Wow, demanding evidence is a Destiny thing. I guess that showed good for him. GG's. If you can't provide evidence, the moment you provide evidence, you rage quit. The moment you provide evidence, you go away from your arguments. The moment I want evidence, you run away from the argument. Why? Show me Show me what did you. Where are you basing this off of? It's not just a basic thing.
We no longer have
No. Okay, we need to talk about the nuance. Okay, because we are adults. Talk about the nuance. What are you basing this off of? Vibes, or have you read a report that gave you this intuition or gave you this concept that's an issue?
Fucking reality that if you hand someone something, it's not in your hands
buddy,
anymore.
Calm down.
You have been yelling and acting a fucking fool for like 20 goddamn minutes.
Buddy, if we have 1 million, if we have 1 million, bro, you just had a breakdown, dude. I asked him for one source the entire conversation, and he literally screams, brings up Destiny, tells me to kill myself, and hangs up. It sounded like he was about to cry and have an emotional breakdown because I asked him for one bit of proof, just like 1 ounce of proof for anything he's saying. And he says, it's an obvious concept. If you're at the kindergarten and you have like 10 apples and you give someone else an apple, how many apples do you have? You probably only have like 9 apples instead of 10. And if you don't have 10 apples, then you don't have 10. Like, think about the easy numbers. It's all logical in my head. That's how national security works. It's that simple. If we send over a Stinger missile built in like 1980 or whatever, that's threatening U.S. security because we're at obviously a global conflict right now, which is based around modern drone warfare, just like he said earlier. But these Javelin and Stinger missiles are going to be the #1, defense of America, apparently. We're on the cusp. That guy is paranoid. He has some issues. That's okay. That's fine. That's funny. He just hung up. I think he was going to cry. I support him in his mental health journey. Moving on. But that was kind of ridiculous, dude. I was trying to be nice the entire conversation, too. I was trying to grant him everything. I was trying to, follow his line of logic. I even discussed the Greenland, Canada, Panama bullshit as if it's a real thing. Just to make him happy. Because he's a little kid at the park talking about politics for fun. I asked him for one piece of evidence. And he brings up Destiny. Like, come on, bro. Is that really the standard? If you ask for evidence, now you're Destiny. Wild. You asked for evidence. I don't have evidence. Why do you ask me for that? Why do you do that to me? Why would you ask me for evidence, dude? Don't ask me for evidence. What are you, Destiny? You always do this. You guys, you liberals always do this. You liberals always ask for information and data and facts. Like, why do you always ask for facts? I just want to lie. Like I just want to be able to lie, guys. Why can't I just lie? Please let me lie. I came on the internet today to spread disinformation, and you're not letting me. I'm gonna cry now. Like, come on, dude. What are you doing? Grow up. Go get I don't know, go get ice cream or something. You're in a bad mood. You gotta get a snack and a nap. You need a snack and a nap. Alright. You're going to hell for mocking them? No, I'm not, dude. You say I'm going to hell for mocking them, alright? They want to abandon a country that's being invaded by a ruthless authoritarian dictatorship. And he said this, it affects inflation if we send them weapons, which is one of the dumbest things you can possibly tie it to. Like, that's probably the worst anti-Ukraine argument I've heard so far. And that's really saying something. Now, that's an emotional appeal. Like, Jesus. You asked for information. Oh, man. That's going to be a good TikTok clip. Hell yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Great TikTok clip. Thank you for providing me that. I really needed a good TikTok clip. That's going to be banned.
Call from
Nate.
To accept, press 1.
All right, let's see. Hello?
Hi.
How are
Can you
you?
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good. How are you doing?
I'm alright. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, what do you want to chat about?
So, I was calling because I consider myself independent,
Okay.
and I see when I see I see the beauty in the back and forth between the left and right, and I think Donald Trump is good for America because I think the pendulum had swung so much to the left in the past years. It's a good thing that when it swings back this way because the last thing you want in a country is civil war. And when one voice feel like they haven't been heard, and you see like all this outrage coming from people and just negativity and I feel like when Trump won the first time it was the Republican giving middle finger to their own party. And I think to understand Trump, like we're so obsessed about understanding Trump, I think we should be trying to understand each other, like the voters. And I don't see bad people on the left. I don't see bad people on the right. I don't think it's immigrants that's the problem. But it just every voice needs to be heard in the country. And when the Republican Party feels suppressed and not heard,
Okay. So your audio is pretty muffled, but I did hear a good amount of your question. So I'm just going to answer your question and end the call there, if that's okay. So just in general about Trump and like loving our neighbors and caring for each other and not getting too wrapped up in politics and us versus them or whatever it might be. I think Donald Trump is a really bad example for America, especially with these California fires. So he made it political right away. He spoke about Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden. He said the federal government did not come and help with relief efforts when the federal government right away got the funding that was needed for California. California in general, there's been so many lies spread about that situation. They had water, but the water pressure wasn't there because the firefighters were using all of it in the hydrants, and the firefighters away from the source got a lower pressure because the firefighters more close to the source were using all the water. Just in general, the police budget there is fine, or the fire department, the fire police budget is fine, and all this other stuff. It was a terrible tragedy, huge natural disaster, and Trump used it for politics. And Trump even used the hurricanes this year in North Carolina and Florida and Georgia and a couple other states for politics. Governors from those states would say, hey, by the way, Joe Biden has been fantastic. The federal government has been doing all their job. They've been providing FEMA funding and everything. And then Donald Trump would turn around and say, right after hearing that, by the way, They provided no help. The federal government and Joe Biden, they're failing. He made it political for no reason. After the governors said, "Thank you, Joe Biden, you did a good job here," Trump made it political. Trump lied to people. He said that no one was going to get FEMA help. He said that the federal government abandoned everyone. So that's really bad as well. But also, liberals. I see our conservatives all over the place blaming liberals for California's fires, which is like historically bad. But we had the deep freeze in Texas that killed tons of people. No one blamed Governor Abbott for that failure when their power grid shut off, because liberals don't politicize things in the same way that conservatives typically do. We did not hear people saying the hurricanes are Ron DeSantis' fault, but we did hear the opposite about Newsom. Newsom. But yeah, so liberals don't weaponize these terrible natural disasters in the same way that Trump and his base does. So I'd probably say, as a big point, if we talk about caring about our community members, Trump also said, many Americans are his enemy, and we need to use the military. He walked this back, but he did say we need to use the military against the radical left woke mob or whatever. So the rhetoric for him has not been great. And also, my final point in all this, after all these disasters, Donald Trump has not thanked in any genuine way. He has never thanked our first responders. In fact, Republicans started attacking the fire chief in LA because she is a woman who is LGBT. And they said this fire was caused because they have gay people working in the fire department. And it's like, why is everything about, complaining about LGBT and DEI and race and gender and everything? Meanwhile, we're talking bad about first responders. These are people who are gay, black, trans, whatever. These are people whose job it is to run into emergencies and dangerous situations when most people run away. And they got slandered on right-wing media because right-wing media wants to tell everyone that woke liberal DEI policies ruined everything. No one ever took a second to thank our first responders. They are fighting fires out there, and these beta soy boy losers with their lotioned up baby boy hands that they got after they failed out of theater school, so they had to become right-wing pundits. These people said, "Oh, the gay firefighters can't do the job." They're running into the fire. You're literally a blogger doing a dumb radio show on a podcast, and you're talking bad about firefighters who are out there risking their lives, protecting people who are not in their families, protecting homes that are not theirs, and they never get a spotlight from Republicans, unless if it's for political points.
I think most Americans will agree with you. I think.
I know, but they never criticize Trump when he does it. That's the issue, though. Like, I want people to criticize Trump when he does not. When he makes it political, and he never appreciates our first responders, and he makes it political. I want someone to call him out for it.
Don't you agree that Trump is a populist? So, like, in a way, I feel like all those it's like tunnel vision. He's repeating like what the American people are saying. I feel like, if anything about Trump,
repeating what the American people are saying, I would argue he is manipulating what the American people are saying by providing lies and fake information to the American people, and then using bias to lead them in certain directions. I would argue he's using the American people being weak in these areas to the point where I know people across the country talking about this fire, complaining about it, and no one is talking about first responders. And by no one, I mean just many people are not. Many people are seeing this in a political realm, and I just want to see, humanity. I want to see community. I want to see us care for our neighbors, and Donald Trump just never creates a world like that, which is really sad. But yeah, hopefully things change.
If I can tell you, like, my daily routine, I listen to both sides. I listen to the left. I listen to the 90.3, which is like a liberal BBC type, and I listen to the conservative. And when I hear both voice, as I hear a voice that both sides they care for America. It might be like both sides caught up in their own section and beliefs, but it's both sides fight so hard because they care so much about America, the people, and And often, like when I hear like Trump attacking or his base or the Republicans attacking, it's more so like the leaders than like the first responders. Like when I hear on the radio, it's both sides are saying like the first responders are the heroes, but I think like America is such a great country for that reason. Like on both sides, you have people that care and fight it out every day. And it's even when you look at like gender, like America is like in a position just to wonder like what's gender. That's like a philosophy question. And people are fighting about that. I think it's great. Like I see on both sides, I see eh, somebody fighting for who they consider as being done wrong. And I think like if we don't focus on Trump so much and try to understand,
Yeah, I don't know. I just think
like
everyone's engagement with this is pretty messed up by the media. I feel like people are just looking for information they want to believe rather than information they should believe. They want to just find information that
do
agrees
you
with their opinions
do
already.
you do you feel do you feel frustrated sometimes with the left side, with the leader of the left side?
Yeah, so I'm against corruption or I'm against bad policies on either side. So I could say like Joe Biden should have
Yeah,
gone further protecting, labor rights or gone further. Although he's the most pro-labor president in probably American history, like he could have gone further in certain areas, but I don't like it
yeah,
when someone is at the point where you're building statues of them as a politician. We should never idolize politicians. Our founding fathers would hate this. It's a sign of authoritarianism just because it's a cult of personality. You don't really make a statue of a leader that is a true democratic leader for a reason. Because you don't want to like love someone.
I agree with that. I feel like it's just a whole lot of frustration with our leaders. Like I'm looking at your life, and I see like everybody wanna get their voice out, like they wanna talk to you. Oh, and if anything for me, it's like people feel unheard in America, and they just want their voice to be heard. And I feel like for Republican, like 2016 was giving middle finger to their own leaders, saying we will pick this guy that's not in politics, that's a business person, an entertainer, Oh, and he'll do as good a job as you guys are doing right now, and it just frustration builds this distrust and this frustration, and I feel like Trump is like a makeup of that.
See, I would agree with
And
that if Trump did anything differently. But Trump's foreign policy, Trump's domestic policy was basically George Bush Part Two from a policy perspective. So they just like Donald Trump in the image of Trump, but they don't really know what he does, and he doesn't even know what he does. Like he ran on no healthcare plan, he ran on no economic agenda other than tariffs, and he says he's going to get costs down. He never gave a plan for it. I just think he's
yeah,
training
but
people
his
to love
winning
him.
his winning is like as a
It's a
voice of
social
the
thing
people. You know
mostly.
what I'm saying? So
I
it's
don't think people
like
even
the
wanted a
first.
voice, by the way. I think they just wanted to not hear liberal. Like I feel like the reaction right now is not that Trump voters wanted a voice. It's that they wanted to stop hearing voices of LGBT, of people who are like anti-racist, BLM, George Floyd. They wanted to stop hearing all of that. They wanted to stop hearing pronouns because right now, I don't see Trump supporters using their freedom of speech to talk about anything meaningful when it comes to economic reforms for our country. They are okay with Donald Trump talking about renaming the Gulf of Mexico and taking Panama, Canada, and Greenland. They're okay with
Yeah,
that because they're happy because Trump is going to fight the liberals and the wokeism, whatever that means, that they
yeah,
hate
it's
because they
it's,
hate it
it's
on a
their
cultural level because
champion.
people don't understand policies enough to really say like, hey, I like this person over this person, and they don't really vote on policy. They just vote on whoever they like more, and people are sick of hearing like the liberals talk or whatever.
Yeah,
So that's a cultural
that's
reaction.
why I see the beauty in the push and the pull. As long as that we have that, like people in other countries, like I'm from Africa, Ethiopia, are not allowed to speak like you guys can. So it's just it's people being able to fight and argue and and make this point and within each other, like with each other. I think it's so amazing. And I see, like everybody pick their own champion, they get behind them, and you guys are willing to have any discussion. That's so rare, and it's such a beautiful thing for me to see. And it's I would get scared if one group, like right now, I'm kind of nervous how the left will react because the right have won so much with Trump right now. Also, it's like the pushback will be there. It's humanity. That's nature. But it's the bad. You guys are fighting to be like. If I ask, I'm 100% sure you care about this country. And when I hear the other group too, they care about it. Maybe you disagree about how to go about to different ways. I think the really scary people are people like me who are independent, because we open our ears to anything, but
Well, yeah, I mean, there's certain
people,
sources that are better than others. It's not good to listen to every source sometimes. But like,
yeah.
I
So
mean,
so
in general, like I understand what you're saying, but I mean, as far as just like extremism and violence in general, that's definitely a right wing thing. It always has been. Even the people that tried to assassinate Donald Trump, had very centrist or right wing opinions. Like the people who participate in violence, the Las Vegas bomber, for example, the guy who blew up the Cybertruck, he was right wing. So it's just like
the
the militia groups are all right
majority,
wing. I guess the
major,
left has Antifa in like Portland, but I know like 50 right wing militias that live within like a 20-mile proximity
yeah,
of me.
the majority of the people on the left and on the right, they care about like the country. Like
Yeah, I agree.
I
But the radical voices are
they
taking over, and I feel like the Republican Party is a much larger percent of radical voices because I feel like I feel like they put Donald Trump above God and above the Constitution. I just don't see that on
And
on the
I
Democratic
don't
side.
like that. I don't like he can't do no wrong attitude. But at the meantime, I think the pushback will be there. I think like John Stewart, like that's my hero. Like one of the people I look up to. Oh, maybe the left will pick him to run next time. And as long as the fighting goes also, and people care so much that they're willing, to put money, to put effort and everything. Like the country is in a good shape because, I can say from both sides, like you guys care, you guys really care, and for me, it's beautiful, it's amazing. But that's all I was trying to say, man.
Yep. All I have to ask for everyone is to pay attention. Don't be too quick in making your judgments on what reality even is, because people lie everywhere. There's misinformation being spread, and Trump spreads a lot of it. So just be a little bit skeptical of the information you receive. Just make sure you take your time. If Trump speaks out against the Constitution, what I ask my conservative friends is that we all agree that if Trump goes against the Constitution and American freedoms, that everyone speaks out against him. So we'll see if that is true, but I think that's something we should all definitely be doing. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you calling in and sharing.
You
Yeah,
too. Have a
hope to see
good
you around the
one.
channel. I have my titles are clickbaity, but I have a lot of good discussions with people just about America and everything in general. The conversations only really get the conversations are only bad if someone comes in with violent rhetoric or angry. I never really start that.
Yeah,
But yeah, thank you
that's
for hopping
amazing.
on here. I hope you have
You have
a
a
great rest
great
of your
day,
night.
man. You have a great night.
All
Enjoy.
right, thank you too. God bless America. Okay, I'm gonna. The algorithm was weird for this stream, but my title was not how I wanted it. I might restart this and do another one. Not for the government. You need to see private corporations as government. Private companies are governments, but they're governments we do not have a vote in. But they do control policies. They control a bunch of things. Okay, so you guys know the drill. If you got a Discord, what can I do? Is type in the search. If you want to join Discord, it's in my video bios. I'll take a Discord caller if I see one in there. I haven't seen one in there yet tonight. Let me go. I'm gonna restart my YouTube Shorts stream. So for people who watch my channel regularly, I'm gonna go hang out in the regular horizontal stream for a little bit. And then restart this in like 5 minutes. I need a drink though. But yeah, the algorithm's being a little bit weird. We're at 500 for a bit. I wonder if we got any subscribers. Let's see. And that'll be my final reset for the night. I'll probably go for like another hour and a half, maybe hour, depending on what kind of calls I get. Let me see. Yeah, we got some good subscribers. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, catch you back on shorts in a few minutes. Go to the horizontal stream if you want to. I'll drop a link for it. Because of the bird flu? Yeah, the bird flu is yeah, the birds are dying. So I'm pretty sure you can still eat the dead birds though, which is why wing prices are lower. All right, there's the horizontal stream if you want to go there. I'll be right back for the YouTube short stream though. Be right back for this. Oh, shoot. Okay, so this stream was worth it. Shut up, dumbass. Okay, this stream was worth it definitely so far because I got a really good TikTok clip earlier. That's a really good TikTok clip. You don't see my Discord here. The Discord is right here as well. It's more than just eggs. Yeah, but eggs in particular going to $6 is because of the bird flu. It's because of the bird flu. But that is true that like produce, for example, we get most of our produce from like Mexico is where we get most of our produce from Mexico, for example. So if we start an issue with them, then guess what happens, buddy? It's gonna go up. All right, we can chat. If you go in Discord, go into the waiting room, go into the live caller waiting room, and I can pull you in once I start my YouTube Shorts stream up again. But I do need a water real quick before I do anything else. All right, cool. Nice. Let me save this. My Discord link in the Shorts channel description. Oh, wait. Is it? What did I send? YouTube Shorts channel description. Wait 1 second. Let me see. There's different links to it. Do they go to the same place or not? No, it goes. They both go to the right place in the descriptions. All right, see you in the. I'm shutting off the YouTube. Whatever. Steak up, paper up, everything is up, not just eggs. Yes, but nothing else had a 100% or over 100% increase. Nothing else went up 150 and nothing went up 150% like eggs did because of the bird flu. God, you'd be having like $50 steaks if that were the case. Like, the birds are dying, dude. They can't make eggs. I wonder if Trump's gonna do anything for the bird flu. Funny. Like Trump believes diseases are real anymore. Trump doesn't believe anything, to be honest. Hello. Hi, Raislin. You missed the guy. You missed the guy scream at me. A guy started we're having like a normal conversation, and then Russia and Ukraine came up, and he said that us sending weapons to Ukraine is one of the main causes of inflation currently. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's pretty dumb. But then he said something about like he said something about Ukraine is depleting our military stockpiles and leaving us in a place where we cannot defend ourselves if we have a world war or something crazy. And I'm like, he used the words dwindling, okay, as if our stockpile is at 0 or something, like where we sent all of our weapons over, which is not true. Like, are the modern weapons being replaced at a similar rate to the way, the rate at which we're sending them? The orders are, but not the completion. But I said at some point, like, do you have anything from the, Department of, or the Department of Defense, or do you have anything from the military saying that their supplies are running low and there's any national security threats? And when I said that, I'm like, where did you hear this from? He says, it's common sense. It's common sense. It's common sense. You give something to someone, you don't have it anymore. And I'm like, well, if you have like 10 apples and I give someone 1 apple, I have 9 apples. Because he wants to use just like logic. And I'm like what source, like what numbers are you going off of for this? And then he yelled at me. Says, you sound just like Destiny now. He goes on a rant for like 30 seconds, and he sounds like he's about to cry and quits. Like, it's actually crazy. But it's weird. It's weird because he did talk about how he spoke earlier about how drone warfare. He talked about how drone warfare is like the only modern medium of warfare that matters or something, or like drone warfare is like extremely important now. And then he spoke about how we need more ammunition in general, like ignoring the drone warfare part. I'm like the equipment we sent over has nothing to do with drone warfare or even like long range national, like even national defense. We didn't send anything over like that. It would have been marked for disposal if the surplus got too high, probably. We didn't send much. When it comes to money we sent Ukraine, it's really not that much. I should probably have a breakdown, but it's really not that much. But they see funding package and they assume like, oh, they're sending taxpayer dollars over. Like, no, I mean, if you have an issue with the defense spending, you can talk about that. But like Ukraine and Russia, if you look at a map of Europe, Ukraine and Russia are obviously bordering each other, but like the distance from Germany and Russia is closer than like Pennsylvania and probably Pennsylvania and Iowa in terms of distance. Oh, Elon Musk shared a tweet from a Russian account today. That was fun. You missed that call? Yeah, that was the first one. The second caller was just like, I'm too nice. Because I had 500 viewers. And the caller came on and he was boring. Wait, what do you guys think I should do in that situation? It's not a proxy war. And even if it was a proxy war, by the way, it would still be worth doing. But it's not a proxy war. Because if, Russia can stop it today by simply not invading. Even if it was a proxy war, but still, it's not. Russia is choosing this. If Russia simply stopped invading and stayed with their sovereign lines and retreated, it'd be over instantly. Russia was never aggressed upon. Oh, I don't know why. Maybe it lagged or something for your message. Do you guys think if I get a boring caller, do you think I should just kick them off if my viewership is doing good? Like if they're not entertaining and my viewers are like dropping, do I just like say, hey, sorry, no one wants this. I'm gonna lose viewership if you stay. Make it short and sweet. Yeah. Boot people off if they're boring, LOL. No, because I feel like I don't know. my role in the internet, I mean, I don't really have a role in the internet, but my role when talking to people, I definitely want to be something that helps people get on board with, being de-radicalized in some sense.
Tonight, there's a new threat from those devastating and deadly wildfires. About 9 million people across much of Los Angeles and Ventura counties under a new red flag warning and on alert for more dangerous fire weather conditions. The emergency is not over. This fire NATO captured on camera in the Pacific Palisades. Evacuations expanding tonight. Thousands of homes and businesses destroyed, at least 11 people killed. Governor Gavin Newsom doubling the number of National Guard to more than 1,600 to help battle the flames. The ground and air assault continue as the fires are now threatening a growing list of neighborhoods, including the exclusive Los Angeles suburb of Brentwood. And the finger-pointing and controversy tonight over what, if anything, could have been done to prevent the wildfires from causing so much death and destruction. We have team coverage tonight in the fire zone. ABC's Matt Rivers leads us off from Brentwood.
Tonight, with fires still raging in Los Angeles, evacuations are
so
expanding.
If you talk about cleaning up the forests, as a main tool for what's happening, you have to realize how much area this is, the incline it's at, and the fact of what kind of plants are here. And you can't simply get rid of these plants. They grow back really quick. They're really resilient. You can't just remove them with a pesticide, not only from destroying the environment, but also there's a big severe issue with mudslides in California. So there's also a guidance, for example, where if you have fires, because there's no more plants to hold in the dirt, you have huge mudslides, which would also, create massive destruction. So as far as maintaining this area, it's almost impossible. It's very difficult. You would need to approve like 50 workers to work around the entire year to manage this. And they talk about capacity for the fire department. You would have to literally have like a, emergency staffing constantly 24/7, which is not possible in the budget. And it's crazy when people talk about, people say Democrats don't, it's the Democrats' fault. The Democrats set the policy, they set the budget, blah, blah, blah. Do people ever think when they complain about this that the Republicans vote to make these budgets smaller? The Republicans vote against these budgets. Like Anna Kasparian saying that, oh, wow, look at this. This is the Democrats' fault. The Democrats need to take full responsibility for this. Like, you realize the Republicans would probably cut the fire department and make them privatized if they could, if the Republicans could. So it's like, or maybe not privatized, but extremely, much smaller. Democrats fight for higher budgets for public services. Republicans fight for lower budgets. So if you say it's the Democrats' fault because they're in charge, Republicans aren't even in charge. They're pushing in the opposite direction of where you want to go. So Anna Kasparian saying that is insane, but I think she's getting paid off by Russia or some foreign government. I don't know. Or just Peter Thiel, because their studio is called Polymarket Studio at TYT now. But yeah, those opinions are all really, really, really dumb.
The Brentwood and Encino neighborhoods under threat as residents make their way out of the area.
It's very difficult, but we're alive. We're alive.
Fire retardant drops starting.
In the skies above the wildfires, firefighting aircraft diving again and again, dropping flame-retardant chemicals and water to stem the fire threat. Those Santa Ana winds temporarily subsiding today, giving them and the thousands of crew battling the flames on the ground a fighting chance.
And also, it takes multiple states sending trucks, which, by the way, there was a lie told on social media that these trucks were stopped for emissions testing. And people were like, this is the woke California policies yet again. It was a fake story. The trucks got there to help, I think, same day. And also, it takes planes from other countries to help, other states. It takes a whole 50 million people coming together to solve a disaster like this. You're not going to staff that number 24/7. This is a big issue. It's a natural disaster that is so bad and it's so random. You can't really predict it to prevent it. The water supply was fine. The water was there, but the firefighters were all pulling from the same water supply at different areas. So if you're closer to the source, you got good water pressure. But if you're further from the source, because all the earlier firefighters are taking water from upstream, essentially closer to the reservoir, then you would have lower pressure if you are further away from the reservoir. So when Republicans talk about they're diverting water away to help it dump into the ocean for the little fish or whatever, or to the reserve for the little fish, that's not true. They had fine water supply. There was never an issue with the lack of water here. The method of getting the water there is difficult. But like I said, unless if you're gonna hire a firefighter for every block or whatever, like I don't know, it's really unpredictable. It's really hard. Windy and dry, yeah, like a fire, hurricane, like someone said. But people don't understand what like a 20-foot high flame looks like. Like these flames are huge. Like it's actually insane. I don't think people even know there's fire tornadoes, bro. There's fire tornadoes in some countries. Okay, I'm gonna start my short stream up again in a second. I want another orange, bro.
We were sitting here, they probably did 50 drops between this whole line here. So.
And that's the difference between the first days of these fires, where the winds were so high you didn't have that kind of air support that you would normally have.
Yeah, and then amount of resources here as well.
But even as first responders are making gains, the Palisades fire, starting on day one of all this, now expanding in other directions. Some homes here already burning. Those active flames we've been watching since the first day of this fire, now here in Brentwood. So you can see with these wind gusts, those flames trying to force their way up from the bottom of the canyon, and as they do so, they're getting...
Well, they say clean up the brush, bro. They say clean up the brush, but these fires,
to this house here.
All of these fires are not simply created by brush, okay? So people imagine they're forests, you know? Or as Donald Trump calls them, the fields of trees. They have fields of trees, big fields of trees, as far as the eye can see. What is a forest? I don't know. But yeah, it's not as simple as raking leaves as people are describing it. And I guarantee you, if Democrats did do every step Republicans are suggesting, Republicans would 100% complain about them spending too much money and taxing too high. So it's a lose-lose scenario because Republicans talk about every issue in bad faith nowadays. We never talk about Greg Abbott in Texas, being responsible for mass death because the power grid shut down, or DeSantis for hurricane response, or, there was a fire in, I think, like Tennessee or whatever in 2016, and Trump said, help everyone there. It's a terrible tragedy, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Donald Trump now is saying things like new scum, it's the liberals' fault, but whatever. Like, whatever, dude. It's because they hire women and gay people. Yeah, bro. Good take. Very smart take. Amazing take. You're going to talk about first responders now. And just because they are LGBT, maybe you are a pampered little baby behind a keyboard on a podcast. Or not even a podcast. They're posting to Twitter as their career. It's like you're really insulting this person based on their identity. I've never seen a group more focused on identity politics other than the right wing today.
This is somebody's patio that we're on, and you can see the firefighters doing their best to make sure the flames don't get this high. Without these firefighters here right now, the house here, other houses in this neighborhood, almost certainly gone. Residents here have largely gone, others trying to bring desperately needed supplies to first responders in the area. Traffic on some roads there backed up for nearly 2 hours. The Eaton fire today now at 15% containment, the Palisades fire at 11%. Over 12,000 structures have been destroyed in total. Fire officials warning those strong winds that helped create the most destructive fire event in California's history are expected to ramp back up once again tonight and into next week.
I saw someone post on Twitter as well. They need to build more houses with bricks, because the brick houses are the ones that are still standing. And I'm like, brother, you realize those brick houses are going to have to be demolished, right? You can't just like reuse that entire, brick foundation. Yeah, you should turn off the YouTube app if we talk. Just give me a minute. I'm eating another orange.
Overnight, this flare-up overwhelming a crew on the ground.
No, how about this? How about people lying about Trump being 6'3"? Donald Trump is not 6'3", 240. He is not 6'3", 240, bro. He's probably 6 foot, 250, if I had to guess. Like, I've seen him stand next to people who are like actually 6'2" and actually 5'11", and he's more 6 foot, 5'11", for sure. And he's not 240. Probably higher.
Firefighters on the front lines forced to retreat from the flames, leaving these vehicles behind. That flare-up spawning this fire-nado. And this harrowing video from earlier this week, a reminder of the hellish conditions endured by ground crews. This man, Alec Gellis, doing everything he could, fighting to save his girlfriend's house from the oncoming flames, eventually forced to leave, unable to save her home.
It's being eaten up by all of that valuable fire retardant. Without that fire retardant, we would be in big trouble.
Firefighters here, though, making progress on getting these fires under control.
I gotta
11
talk about
deaths
Mel
have been
Gibson.
confirmed, 8 from the Eaton fire and 3 from
Mel Gibson
Palisades.
is so stupid, dude.
Tonight, at least 13
Oh my God, Mel Gibson is
people are
dumb.
missing.
Mel Gibson is one of the
ABC
dumbest
News
humans ever
today
exist.
learning the identity of 2 of the victims of the Eaton fire, a father and son, Anthony and Justin Mitchell of Altadena. Both were in wheelchairs and awaiting evacuation. His daughter remembering him as, quote, a great dad that any little girl could want. Tonight, the full scope of the loss of life still unclear. Law enforcement also facing challenges, arresting 27 people in total, saying some violated a curfew implemented last night, others taken into custody on suspicion of looting. Officials also warning business owners from taking part in price gouging.
People who have been victimized, being victimized again in contravention and in violation of the law against price gouging in California in the time of a natural disaster in a state of emergency. It's wrong.
Today, California Governor Gavin Newsom doubling the amount of National Guard deployed in Los Angeles. Law enforcement today says they are now able to begin rescue and recovery efforts, using grid searches and cadaver dogs to try and locate the missing.
We hope to find everybody safe. We want to bring closure to the family.
Today, the city announcing that the ATF would lead a task force to investigate the cause of the Palisades fire. Pressed about what could have started the Eaton fire, officials say the investigation is fluid.
We are not going to leave any rock unturned if this is a criminal act.
Still so many questions about what caused these fires. Matt Rivers joining us now from Brentwood. And Matt, how long have some of these firefighters been out there, and what are they most worried about in the coming days?
Yeah, Whit, there's really not much rest to be had out here. I had a conversation with a firefighter earlier today who told me he's been out here for 2 straight days. But I think every firefighter you talk to a man, to a woman back there fighting these fires, they'll say this is what they do, this is what they train for, they wouldn't be anywhere else. But their jobs will get harder over the next few days. Almost assuredly, these winds that are picking up in speed as we speak, only going to get worse. Whit.
Matt Rivers for us. Thank you.
Okay. Are you Nile River? Is that you? Nile River. Nile River. Okay. Create. Go live. Reuse. Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Oh, that's gonna be the new Baby Shark, dude. That's gonna be the new Baby Shark, dude. Baby, knock, 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 knock. All right, Shorts stream is back up. Climate change, forced fire. Oh yeah, I want to talk about Mel Gibson real quick. All right, LeBron James is gonna win this poll. All right. Who is more athletic? Tonight is the night, okay? Tonight is the night. LeBron James or Donald Trump. There we go. Donald Trump, Donald Trump. I couldn't help but notice that Mel Gibson is an idiot. A dumbass, as many say. Gotta be centered on the TV. I don't like this. I don't like this very much. Good enough. Come on. Work for me. Work, work, work. Work, 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 work. That's what I need, dude. Mark Zuckerberg, bro. All right, beautiful. Who's calling in? Oh wait, Discord. I'll do Mel Gibson later, I guess. Because Mel Gibson's more of an offline segment, I'd say. I don't have my YouTube Shorts set up for showing videos, really. Oh yeah, Andrew Tate's campaign speech as well I need to do. I forgot about that one. Hello.
Hey, Jola, what's up, man?
What's up? Are you the person that was in the chat?
Yeah, free hat, yeah.
Alright, so I'll bring you
I
into
just
the
wanted
private chat.
Oh, go ahead. You
real
go ahead.
quick. Hello, Raisel.
What's up, guys? This is cool. I've never actually done this before.
Alright, 1 second. I'm dragging you in. Thank you for hopping in here, Raisel. Alright, what's up?
Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta fix this. It's on. I'm trying. Hold on. So I can hear you better. Dang it. I had it on speaker and it went away.
No worries.
Shoot, where's the speaker phone? Like, I'll just put the phone in my ear. It's fine. Whatever.
Okay,
Yeah,
you sound
so
good to me.
okay. So that dude, when you started talking about how Donald Trump said, "Oh, blame the gays, blame the lesbians, or whatever," and LGBT, I think I feel like there's a further point to be made. I'm not. I think you're missing on is the DEI thing. It's people are getting hired. They're getting like bonus points because of their, the minority, the sexuality. So people aren't being hired based on merit. So basically, the best person for
You just cut out for a second.
I know someone just called me. That's why it's so annoying. But yeah,
You're
I
good.
think the issue he's making, or the point he's making, is that people aren't getting hired based on the best option, the best person who got the highest score, who did the best in the training. People are, it's being given to people based on a lower standard. And so I think it's not because they're gay or lesbian or trans or whatever. It's because they're given the job that someone else actually had better qualifications for. You see what I'm saying? So it's not really like, I can see how it comes off as, because he's gay, so he it's his fault. No, I think what's being said is it's people aren't being hired based on who's the best option. I think that would be the argument to be made. Does that sound
So, first
fair, or
off,
I don't know.
in America, your connections and the money you have access to, the money your friends have, all those things, being born into a rich area instead of a poor area or even middle class,
Yeah.
Knowing people, pretty much every job in America is not given on a merit basis in general. Just starting at that point,
Yeah.
you know, the myth of American meritocracy is so untrue. Most of top earners in America are consultants who went to an Ivy League school because their parents went there.
Yeah.
They are legacy admits. They have zero college debt, and they were given a job guaranteed by their parents. That's most of the top earners in
that's called
America. It's very
nepotism.
rare
That's-
for someone. Well, that's very common, and it's not called nepotism. It's called legacy admissions, and then it's not direct
okay.
nepotism, but it is like it is a form of
I
it.
guess a smaller base of it, a smaller, yeah.
Yeah, so just in general, when it
I
comes to
agree with that.
merit, that's the first point I want to just nail down is that no hires in America are made off of merit. Very few are made off of merit. It's made off of popularity. One of the things I learned the most in the job market is that it's much more important to go to social events than it is to go to job fairs if you want to make a lot of money or get jobs that are higher level. Because job fairs and the application process online, it's really good for finding jobs that are entry level. But most jobs, I think 80%, somewhere between 50 and 80% of jobs are given through networking.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's through networking. It's through family. It's through friends. You might be better off going to a fancy bar that you know that there's going to be rich people at and talking to them. And they can give you an opportunity. Yeah. So that's first off. And another big thing I'd bring up, there is a landmark study. It's one of the most well-cited studies. I forgot the name right now, but essentially, and you may have heard of this. Let me know.
We'll
so
take
the
your
study
word
essentially
for it,
was.
and then, you know.
So they ran this in multiple cities. It may have been Milwaukee for the one I'm thinking about. I'm not sure. But they would take identical applications. So the exact same qualifications, exact same level of schooling, exact level of experience. They'd give these applications to the same places, the same people who are hiring, without telling them. They'd have one application sound like a white name and another application sound like a black name. So it'll be like I always think of different examples for this, but one is like Nancy
so then
Mace.
the person with the white name would be hired more often.
Yeah, so one is like Nancy Mace, the other one is like Jamal Washington. So in these situations, we saw that the white person got chose like 90% of the time, and that was I think like 10 years ago or 15 years ago when that study was done. And I forgot the exact date, but all these studies go the same way.
I don't want to cut you off. I just wanted to just rephrase. So the fact that not everything's based on merit. It's not a meritocracy. It's not merit based. It's who you know. It's networking. But would you agree that doing the DEI thing makes things even worse than they already are?
No.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I can tell you
it's
what,
already bad.
I'm building my entire point because of this. Okay, so if we have if we have a system for generations, and this is in the modern day. So if we have a system that for generations, black people with similar qualifications are being denied jobs and white people are being given those jobs, and think about slavery and think about Reconstruction after the Civil War. Think about going through Jim Crow all the way up through the 1800s, 1900s, Harlem Renaissance. Then we have the Civil Rights Act, and we have a lot of black people stuck in cities because that's where they moved. They have names like Jamal Washington and last names like Jefferson because black people's history is untraceable
they took the last
for many
name
people.
of the slave owner. They took the last name of the slave owner.
Yeah, or just like whatever was the most known name, especially because there was no literacy, because black people were treated to be, less than human under law. Then after the Civil Rights Movement, black people were still targeted with the war on drugs and also redlining and economic policies that kept black people in these areas of the cities, which are now defined as ghettos. You can predict the so-called ghettos and the poor areas for black people today based off of data from slavery and how slavery translates to where black people moved after the Harlem Renaissance. So when we talk about DEI, if we have that system moving up all throughout that time, and black people started off with no net worth at all. In fact, most black people in America have a negative net worth, or like in a city like Boston, for example, the average white family has a net worth of $60,000. The average net worth of a black family has a net worth of negative $20,000. So think about that long history, that long lineage that white people in America, on average, because there's a lot of white people that struggle, and that's why I'm against terms like white privilege, because it leaves out the conversation. It leaves out white people that do have struggle, because they hear white privilege as an academic term. They think, I'm not privileged, I still have a tough life, and I agree. They're really talking about black people being disadvantaged or disadvantaged in the U.S. It's more like if you're running a 100-meter dash, not that white people start at the 50, it's that, in that 100-meter dash, black people start at the 200, very, very likely. So if we have that system for a long time, and we know after that study that was done even 10 years ago, that black people are not being chosen, even if they have qualifications, which are harder for black people to get on average because they're, because of systemic issues that led to these communities being like this and led to zero economic opportunity. Think about that all the way to today. And we know that 50 to 80% of hires are off of legacy and legacy admissions to colleges. And it's also off of, knowing rich people, knowing families, knowing not even just rich people, but just knowing like a middle class family that owns a business or knowing someone that knows someone that knows someone, obviously. So all those connections are built in. Even in my poor white trash hometown, I can use that to my advantage. But that's not the same for, on average, like black people in America, because in American law, there was never a law discriminating against white people on the basis of being white, but there was many laws saying that black people were less than being human based on their skin color. So as a group, when you talk about affirmative action and DEI, the point of that is to help the biased hiring practices and help kind of reverse that discrimination. It's not about there's no jobs at all. It's like pilots are brought up, for example. There is no job being given to a black pilot that the black pilot is not incredibly prepared and extremely qualified for that job. So the idea we're hiring lower talent is obscene. It's not proven through any metrics at all. People just say that because they assume, oh, you're only getting hired because you're black. Are there situations in which a certain race or a certain culture or a certain gender may get hired for a role, especially for PR purposes for a company? Sure, corporations might do that. But as far as pilots, firefighters, all of these jobs,
like safety jobs, like jobs with
they don't just let people in that just that don't know how to do the job. That's just like it's just something that does not happen. It was never proven. It's just built off the idea that okay, well, this is something that it's like they're not going to be qualified. Yeah.
My thought wasn't they don't know how to do it. It was they don't do it the best. That was my point, if that makes sense.
But so doing it the best. We already said
out of all the applicants, whether they're Chinese or Muslim or whatever, like the best person at the time applying for the position.
Okay, here's a good example. Are you familiar with like
you know what I mean?
Are you familiar with like SAT scores, for example?
Yeah, like
getting
1500,
into college.
1600. Like what about?
Yeah. So there's a common debate. So you have one kid, and this is for affirmative action, which, there's debates on affirmative action. I think the intent is very good and correct. But you'd have to make a judgment on, let's say there's a kid who grew up in a terrible area. We're going to say this is a black kid, okay? He grew up in a area that has no jobs other than maybe McDonald's. The old saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. They would ask, where are the freaking boots? It's a dangerous area to live. The parents have no money.
I see. So the
parents don't have cars.
Fairly well.
But let's say that person is able to get through school. They're able to fight all these external things around them. They never got to do extracurriculars because they need to work after high school. But somehow they still got through high school with really high grades, and they finished college, or they finished high school, and they're able to somehow pay for an SAT to take it because it costs money. And they get an $11.50.
$80.
They get like they get like an $11.50 versus my people that I knew who got 1300s, who were from suburbs, whose parents paid thousands of dollars for them to get SAT tutoring. I knew people who got thousands of dollars in SAT tutoring, and they got 1300s. In a rich family, they were able to do any extracurricular they wanted to. They lived in a nice suburban home. They could walk outside. They could sleep on the floor. Nothing will happen. They could leave their car unlocked. They could leave their house unlocked. And that person got a 1300. What do you value in that discussion? Does that metric define everything about that person? And then you can argue also, if you don't want to target race, which I think targeting race is okay for some policies, but just hear me out real quick. If you don't want to target race, take race out of the conversation. Now, I think some policies that target race based on systemic racism logically follow, but let's say it's just a class thing. A poor anybody, okay? A poor white guy from a rural area that's not safe, because rural areas are very dangerous as well. But we never hear about that because we want to put the stereotype on black people only. But rural areas are often very dangerous in red states. There's a reason life expectancy in red states is super low. It's because of a lot of different health factors, and also it's kind of, per capita death and murders and everything is pretty high. Let's say any poor person goes through extreme trauma and, like I said, works at McDonald's, whatever, and they have to do that through high school as they're like 16 years old. Regardless of race either.
Color, if a white person is a poor farmer family and he manages to pull through and do decently, then he might be picked over someone who scored higher because of his hardship.
Yeah, and just remember as well, like we never gave and that person probably honestly, if I'm hiring, I probably want someone from that background because they did not get a cakewalk. You know, that other kid did. This person had to fight for everything their entire
It might
life.
show more. It shows more character.
Yeah, and they
discipline.
just had to fight through things. Like as a kid, they had to go through these situations. And affirmative action is an attempt to heal generational issues. We never gave black people reparations at all. Held them in slavery. We got huge economic advantages from black people being in slavery for generations and being discriminated on the books. Less than human, raped. There were slave breeding islands like Jamaica, and a bunch of islands were slave breeding colonies just to breed human beings, breeding them. That's only 100 or 200 years before us. Yeah. And we just don't want to talk about that because it's uncomfortable for us. But we never gave reparations to black people. We did for internment camps for Japanese Americans. We did for multiple, different things.
Yeah,
that America
because
has
of Pearl
done.
Harbor, I remember that.
Yeah, like Germany did after the Holocaust. We never did for slavery. So affirmative action is the university's attempt to help heal those generational issues at that level. And it 100% logically follows. Among every metric you could possibly look at, economically or socially, it follows. But people talk about it in this degrading, like, social context because everyone wants to make everything a culture war. And I appreciate you calling in because I think you do sound very, very reasonable. But most people don't want to hear anything.
No, it's fine.
They'll just laugh and be like, data. But the one thing I want to say is the last thing I want to say, and I'll give you the floor after this one point because it's really complicated. I just want to make sure I get everything out because it's like, it's really important to get all these aspects down.
It's all good.
So when the Supreme Court said affirmative action was not okay, and California, they had a reaction to it. Do you know what California did once they couldn't do it? Once they could not do affirmative action anymore? Do you know what California replaced affirmative action with?
I'm sure they found a loophole.
So they ended up. Wait, let me see. I want to make sure I get this right. California. I don't know if they actually did this.
Doesn't have to be
response
verbatim,
California, in response, California bans legacy and donor preferences and admissions. So that shows the true intent of the policy. It was never just a race thing. It's also about poor Americans. It just so happens that a lot of black people are poor because of systemic issues we've had for our country's entire history. But yeah, in response to affirmative action being banned, California bans legacy and donor initiatives because that also helps a lot of people who are from disadvantaged backgrounds. Not as many because rich kids are going to score higher on these tests when they get a $50,000 tutor because their parents are not upper middle class or wealthy. I went to school with a billionaire from Switzerland that has a mansion on Lake Geneva, by the way. So I've seen everything. I moved from colleges because I was around too many like super ultra wealthy. But yeah, it's just allowing black people to get into a space they otherwise would not have been able to based off their merit and hard work. I would say it's even a more merit-based policy because legacy admissions is not merit-based. So right now, banning legacy and donor preferences, I think that should be done across the country.
Most money. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I'm sorry for going on that long.
I would even say laws are only for poor people too because rich people can it's just a fine really. If you have enough money, you can break most laws.
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg was in front of Congress for 12 hours talking about stealing data from Americans and using it in an unlawful in a way for their advertising.
I know.
Or it's Purdue crazy. Pharma for the opioid epidemic. Purdue Pharma just paid a fine. They never had to go see jail time for purposely killing and murdering thousands of people, hundreds of thousands.
You can circumvent the law if you have enough money or influence or both or whatever. It's pretty crazy to be honest.
I love how he ignores all the comments. Typical soy boy. WMM40. You have nothing interesting to offer to this conversation because you are literally a bot that reads everything on Twitter and just reciprocates whatever talking point you're told to believe. Wait, is he talking about you? Yeah, whatever talking point you're told to believe, you reciprocate. You have no actual foundation as a human being. You are a beta that you can map on. Yeah, I'm reading the comments in the chat. You are mirroring whatever you think the strong man in the room is because you don't have any strong masculine energy for yourself. You have no strength within yourself, so you have to take a bunch of different podcasters as your daddy because you have daddy issues. That's why you don't give any interesting opinions. That's why I'm not reading your dumbass comments. Oh yeah, anyways, continue.
No, I wasn't sure what you were saying because I had to turn off the app so I didn't get any weird feedback.
Yeah, you're good.
No, I just feel like I get it. There's that gray area, right? There's that nuance or whatever everyone keeps talking about. But I just think in a black and white if we just do black and white type thing, I think for the just for the advancement of technology and just moving forward, I think we need the best people for the position in any field, so that we can just get better and better at things. You know.
Well, Elon Musk right
But I
now,
get it.
they want the HP1. They don't want, or H1B visas. They're not picking on who can be the best.
Oh
They're
yeah,
picking who
that's
can be
low
the
wage.
well, they're picking for how they can save the most money and get productivity while screwing workers over. So it's not even about
Yeah.
meritocracy in corporate America or tech. They just want people who are going to be working for them. They can exploit, and then they can move on once they develop AI to replace all their workers.
Yeah, a lot of people are upset about
Just
that.
meritocracy in general is a myth in America. We don't care that much about like equality of opportunity, which is
Yeah,
what
you
like
know what?
democratic policies are focused around usually.
I totally agree with that. The one thing I've heard in the last decade, America is pretty like, screwed up, but I don't know, people say this is as good as it gets. I'm just wondering what your thoughts on that. Do you think America it's not perfect, obviously, like there's hella problems, but is it as good as it gets compared to, just whatever other countries, like when it comes to everything, like the melting pot? Because, Germany, they have their thing, but it's a monolith, right? It's not they don't really. And the thing is with America, I think we'd have a lot better society, much better society, if our defense, we're defending the world, and it's just it's draining us. I just think I don't like that aspect of our country. I feel like we
I'm
need to
not sure
reinvest
about
in our
defending the
own
world.
country. Well, just, oh, here's a couple, billion or million here, there, whatever. It's just like the aid, all the aid and stuff. I don't know why. Like, how are we able to do that
So, like for
if we're
Ukraine aid, for example, a lot of it is frozen funds that like the EU and America have from Russia. A lot of it is loans. So, as
okay?
far as like money we just sent Ukraine, I think it might be like 5 or 10% of what we actually sent is in money that is very, very, very strictly
Like a payment
designated.
program or something?
Well,
Yeah.
designated for certain things, and most of it is in sending weapons to Ukraine. And a lot of the spending that we did for Ukraine is sending our old weapons that were going to be decommissioned already, and replacing them with modern weapons that America was going to produce anyway. So American workers got paid to make the weapons that replaced the ones we sent to Ukraine. They were outdated. We sent them outdated equipment. We're in a new era of drone warfare and everything, so we're focusing on that more recently. So we have not suffered as a country from helping Ukraine at all. We probably benefited because Ukraine is taking a huge burden as being the chosen country that Russia is invading. And yeah, they're helping global stability by protecting Ukraine. It's protecting American soldiers and American stability by protecting Ukraine in ways that we're not going to understand until Trump abandons Ukraine. Then we're going to see a ripple effect, and I'll just keep watch for that. But as far as reinvesting in America, I completely agree, which is why I'm a huge fan of Joe Biden's economic policies, because he did more reinvestments in America from the federal government of any president since FDR. So I really liked his policies for that reason.
Yeah. And then
That's why I was open to
thinking.
Trump. By the way, when I was like watching in 2016, given I was 16 though at that time, I was open to Trump's message at first because he talked about building back American infrastructure. He even spoke about like expanding healthcare and all that kind of stuff before the neocons told him what they actually wanted him to say. Then he's a puppet that just says like popular things. But like he was talking about like infrastructure plan. I'm like, okay, well if he wants to build back infrastructure, I mean that'd be cool. But Trump tried, like he said, infrastructure week 80 times as president. He never got it done. He still doesn't have a healthcare plan. So it's like,
I think that's because he needed Democrat support because they didn't have a majority.
Well, they tried passing an infrastructure bill, but that infrastructure bill including privatizing, like most of the bill included privatizing public work programs, not work programs, privatizing public goods and public services and public roads. They wanted to privatize things. That's why Democrats voted no against his infrastructure plan, because his infrastructure plan was a big giveaway to corporations essentially.
I have a question, just something about the current events. The whole Israel Palestine thing. Why do we? I'm just. I don't understand. Why are we involved? Why do we protect Israel? What is the benefit of that? I'm not a fan of Israel or Palestine. I say let them fight each other and let that fight over there, and they can deal with it themselves, sort it out themselves. Why do we? What is our benefit to helping Israel? I don't understand that. I know. Most people on the left are pro Palestine. I don't understand why, and I don't understand why people are pro Israel. Like that's their problem. Why are we making it our problem? I don't get that. So maybe you can, you know, enlighten me, I guess. I don't know.
So in general, so from a cultural perspective, for Donald Trump, so like Mike Huckabee, that he put in charge of ambassador to Israel, they believe in the Christian end times that it's something about, and if Epoch's in chat, he can correct me if I'm wrong. Essentially, in the most like base level way, if all the Jewish people are in the homeland, then now they are. That is one of the keys to the end times. Prophecies. So in Christian prophecy or Christian whatever Bible talk or whatever Bible talk,
Yeah, no, that's
like
kind of
Judeo-Christian Bible or Judeo-Christian values, there was a cultural connection with the U.S. and Israel as well. And also the military strategic location of Israel makes it a really big partner for the U.S., especially being in relation to Iran and also every country essentially surrounding Israel. The U.S. uses Israel as like a, it's one of the biggest security states and surveillance states and they have one of the biggest technology sectors of any country in the world. Like they have their own Silicon Valley.
That's what I'm saying. Through our funding, that's my point. Why do we support them? Why don't we have the most advanced military tech? You know what I mean? Why does Israel have? Why do we give them all the money and just not put it in our own military? I mean, we already put so much into it, but why do the extra for the other country? I don't get it.
I mean, they view Israel as the only democracy. So the U.S. views Israel as the only democracy in the region. They believe that it's a, like I said, strategic tool. And in general, making sure Israel is
it's a good
bolstered.
location.
It's all strategy. It's leverage. It's making sure that there's a lot of pro-Israel advocacy in the U.S. In general. So that's why the U.S. supports Israel. It's another one of those things where the U.S. is still like the U.S. and China are the two leaders in military technology. But as an extension, anything Israel does, or even I can even say it's a lot less loaded right now. But even South Korea, that's one of the reasons we support South Korea so much, is because it's very advantageous for us to be in relation to those areas, those countries.
And then I had another it's kind of controversial. I'm not trying to be insulting or anything. I don't
There's a lot of
care,
different historical reasons for all this stuff.
Yeah. But I also don't understand how there's a lot of basically the left is a huge fan of Palestine. I don't understand why the LGBT community is, because if I don't know, I could be wrong, but because of the religion, if gay people were openly gay in Palestine, wouldn't they be like killed or something? I don't understand why they support Palestine if they hate them. I don't understand. You know what I mean? It's like, if they were there, they would be killed or imprisoned or whatever. Unless that's not true. I just don't understand why the LGBTQ community, is a fan of Palestine.
I think
it's almost like they're a fan because of they hate America. Well, they hate, just
but you have
basically
to realize
the way. I don't get it, like
the left
and
the left in general, whether it's liberals or progressives, are also very against things like the death penalty. So we already see punitive punishments as a bad thing. We don't want people to be put to death. We don't want the state to have the power to put people to death. It does not stop crime. It has no benefit to humans other than making us happy that we're able to put someone to death. America is the only first world country that has the death penalty. Every free democracy in the world has banned, or most free democracies have banned the death penalty. Because usually we don't do that in developed countries. So in general, liberals and progressives are more likely to say, they might have these views, but that doesn't make it right what's happening to this group of people. They're still human beings. They're still dying. So even if they have cultural views that don't align with mine, I mean, there's fundamental Christianity in the U.S. is extremely violent against gay people, but we have a system of government that prevents that from happening, at least to some extent.
Yeah, no,
and we have social norms as well. But I'm just saying, like, you cannot like someone. I could hate everyone in an area, but I still don't think it's right for them to be slaughtered. Like, even if, no matter what conflict you're talking about, I don't appreciate war at all. So, I mean, I don't want to see war. People don't want to see war. So, I mean, if there's a side dying, especially if there's one side that is a lot more powerful than the other, progressives and liberals see this as a situation where Israel has a very powerful military and intelligence system, and then Palestine has Hamas, which is sort of like recruiting those within Palestine and a people that is like, I don't know, that has no equal chance to defend itself. and kind of forced into this position based off very complicated historical reasons. But just in general,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just trying not, I'm trying not to get into
basically
it too much. I don't talk about this topic because
yeah,
I don't know
it's
enough to
fine,
have
it's
super
fine.
strong opinions on it. I know enough to tell you just the
No,
base
it's
level
fine.
of why you would still support someone who doesn't agree with your lifestyle. Liberals are more likely to do that than conservatives are, when conservatives are in charge. Because like
Yeah.
gay people don't get into power and say let's ban Christianity, but Christians do get into power and they say let's ban gay marriage. So it's just like there's a difference in authoritarianism and punitive punishments and all that kind of stuff on these ideological fronts.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, but I just it still doesn't seem like the smart move for them. Because what if they grew and they started, expanding, and then at some point they're going to be in a unsafe, community. If they nurture the thing that will end up ending them or whatever, in a sense.
I mean,
Does that
in
make sense
general,
though? Like, I don't know.
say that again. Say that again.
So, my question was why, you answered by saying, hey, just because they don't agree with their lifestyle doesn't mean that, the LGBT whatever that wants other people to suffer. But I'm saying it's not to their advantage to support them because if they were to grow and expand, their views and their culture would reach their communities at some point.
That
And
isn't really.
then not possible or not within our lifetime, I guess, or I just mean down the road, like it's a time bomb
That's a non.
for them.
That's just not how it's not how ideologies typically spread, and also just in general, when you go from principles of where violence is justified, you're not going to change that position based on what the group believes, and you probably think there's much bigger ramifications if you are someone who has these positions. You believe there are much bigger ramifications to not providing human aid, to not supporting a population that is being killed, even if someone agrees with the Israel perspective that this is done for like righteous reasons. There is a threat to Israel. They're protecting whatever. Although
Yeah,
they
and
are
then
expanding, they're
so
very
you're not
expansionist.
you said you don't like the death penalty, right? I feel
Well,
like
yeah.
it would be I think it would be necessary for certain crimes. I mean, I
And you're
feel like
also
that
assuming
would
everyone is
make
like
sense.
very selfish in their thinking. Like, what's best for me right now? Does that person like me? But liberals again are more likely to think in a holistic, collective form. That's why they vote for Democrats over Republicans typically, and people that have that more individualistic mindset vote for, Republicans. Because Republicans is all about leave me alone. I want to do what I want. Don't tax me. I don't want to be part of this global community. Globalism, big
Yeah.
government, whatever. And then liberals are like, well, I want to be collectivist and come together so we can all work in our community in the same way to push our community in a good direction as neighbors, and work through these systems and work even globally with the global community. So it's just something that liberals or the left is more likely to do, to supersede emotions. Because you're thinking about it in terms of like, very self-driven, like, oh, I'm not going to support this group because of this. But there's other principles they have that would supersede that.
Okay, that makes sense. So wait, what you changed the topic of the video? What are you interested in talking about? It's hard to just pinpoint, and pick something.
Well, right now, the right wing in America is being told by the richest man in the world, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos, that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is being
What kind of
killed.
man? What did
The
you say?
richest men in the world, the
Oh,
richest
richest,
billionaires.
okay.
The top 3 richest men are convincing a bunch of Trump supporters, just because they go on Joe Rogan, that they have their best interests in mind, because they switch and use terms like masculinity, anti-woke, etc. Meanwhile, they want to get rid of every part of government that wants to hold them accountable. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues in America today.
Okay. So basically like Andrew Tate. That's
Yeah,
funny.
people. Okay, so in America today, it's really cool to be dumb or to simply not understand things. It's even cooler to not even look into them. So like Andrew Tate, Donald Trump, this fake masculinity, these really fragile, insecure men. Donald Trump is one of the most insecure men I've ever seen. Anyone who takes Donald Trump as a form of masculinity that they should like model in a masculine person or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the weakest, most pathetic crybabies of all time. He sounds like a 12-year-old girl crying half the time. Like, life is so unfair to me. Things are so unfair. I've never had it easy. Like, you literally were given $400 million from your dad to start your businesses. Like, shut up. Just stop crying. Stop crying about hard questions. Like, he gets a tough question. He just insults the interviewer, leaves, and cries about it on Twitter. It's the most beta mentality ever.
I think his complaint is he's not being it's not being treated equal.
Oh, I'm
Like
not fair. It's
when
not
they
fair to me.
hey, are you ready for tough questions? And like, hey, Joe Biden, what flavor ice cream do you like the most? You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make
That
sense?
never happened.
Can we at least? No, like no. They
Donald Trump did not give
you know,
one policy this entire presidential cycle. He did not give one straightforward policy. Kamala gave like 10, and they still said Kamala had less policy somehow, because they just like Trump more. So it's like they don't care what they actually said.
Well, no, I think they were saying they were trying to get her to interview, and she never accepted any interviews until
Kamala Harris
you know,
did more news interviews than Trump did. Trump just did podcasts, which loved him already, and he did Fox News shows that
Yeah.
called him the second coming of God, essentially. The one guy on Fox News who
Really?
went on the show like 10 times.
Yeah, she did a bunch at the last.
And Trump
towards the
ran away
end,
from a second debate. Trump, like, they debated once. She wanted to debate again. She would have even debated on Fox News. Trump ran away from a second debate. So the one time they came together for a conversation, Trump looked terrible. He ran away. He was scared to do it again.
Really? I didn't know that. But
Yeah, she was
I do
begging.
remember
Exactly. Harris should have been saying that all the
Yeah.
time. She should have been saying in every interview, like, Trump is afraid to debate me again. Come out here, Trump, debate me. She should have been attacking him every interview on that. Like, yeah.
So what about that? What do you think about this? Remember, Joe Rogan said it himself. Maybe it's propaganda, but he said he wanted to interview Kamala, but she had certain terms and wanted it her way, and only wanted to do 30 minutes or 45 minutes instead of the full 2 hours or whatever. And Joe Rogan said, "Oh no, like that. You know, this is my show, not your show. Like, come on the show, and I do my thing." So, what do you think about that?
So
Do you
she's
think
a sitting vice president who is traveling on the East Coast, doing like 4 rallies a day in each of these states. Sitting vice president.
But, I mean,
and
Trump was doing a lot
Joe
of rallies
Rogan,
too. You know?
Joe Rogan is now talking about how he's going to go and do a show at Mar-a-Lago. So it's just favoritism. It makes sense that Kamala would have 30 to 60 minutes. She
Yeah.
doesn't have that time to go sit down for 3 hours. And by the way, when Donald Trump did do
Yeah.
that, he left his supporters waiting at a rally. And I don't, he might have canceled it, but the rally was delayed in the freezing cold for his supporters by like 3 hours because he didn't go there in time. And on the podcast, Trump literally said nothing. Like, no one ever tells me. Everyone says Trump went on the Joe Rogan podcast for 3 hours. He talked for 3 hours. He got this amazing participation medal. He participated.
Yeah.
No one ever says what he
that's the
actually
thing.
talked about during that interview.
Yeah, it was, Joe Rogan just likes to pick the brain and just talk about life stuff. And
Joe Rogan asked him a question about the elections.
It was a relatable
Did you see that part?
experience. It wasn't-
No, Trump was
Which
asking
part?
about the no. Joe Rogan asked Trump about the election, and Trump could not provide any evidence at all of voter fraud. Even after Joe said it like 10 different times, Trump avoided the question. He completely lied the entire time. He would not provide one piece of evidence at all, not even one case to point to, because he lost every case on voter fraud, and it was all disproven. So he did not point to it.
All the evidence was circumstantial, so it's not even. It has no weight. That's the issue with that.
Donald Trump
that
could
is
not. He
curious.
said the 2016 election, the 2020 election, the 2024 election as voter fraud. He has 0 examples of this happening. 0. And he still says that these elections are all stolen, including this one, which he stopped caring about once he won because he really just lied about it and he wanted to just be a winner. But I want to draw attention to anyone who watches this. Okay? So on the Joe Rogan interview with Donald Trump, Joe Rogan is asking him a very simple question at the beginning. He says, Trump, you were president. How did it feel to be the most powerful man in the world? Trump could not answer this question at all. Joe said this question like 6 times. Trump kept saying,
I watched it.
I went to the bedroom. I saw the Lincoln bedroom. It was so beautiful inside. No, but Trump, you were the president. How did it feel? The interior design was fantastic. He's like, no, Trump, how did it feel? And Trump's like, well, the marble floors. No, Trump, what did it feel like as a person to be the president? Well, I mean, I saw the Lincoln bedroom. Again, it was a beautiful sight. I could not believe it. And it's like, I don't know if Donald Trump has any internal dialogue. I don't know what his values are. I don't know if he believes literally anything because he changes his beliefs every single day. He's the most flippity floppity person I've seen in my entire life. And not even like Kamala flip-flops over 5-year periods. I mean, like daily he'll flip-flop. Like he said Canada needs stronger borders, and now he's saying we need a free trade zone with Canada similar to the EU. These things are completely contradictory because Trump is held to no standard of evidence or logic or consistency at all. And it's just like, I don't even know what to say to people.
What do you think happened? So what do you think happened to all those other votes that went to Joe Biden? Because there like a deficit of like 12 million or 15 million votes that didn't happen that happened in 2020.
No, it was like 3 million less votes, I think, or 4 million less votes when it was all said and done. Yeah, so they say 14 million because the internet.
I thought it was like 10 million or something.
No, the internet spreads a lot of lies. So the vote tallies were like 76 million for Trump and 74 million for Kamala. Last election was
2020.
81 million for Biden and 74 million for Trump, I believe. So it was like a
Okay.
couple million less, but it was not like 12 or 14 million less votes this election. But right-wing accounts still say that on Twitter because, you know, the free speech, the citizen journalists are all terrible.
Everything is hyperbolic and
Well, no,
to make a
that's
better
a lie.
point.
It's
Yeah.
not hyperbolic. That's a lie. They are lying to
Oh, yeah,
manipulate
yeah.
people.
Let me see.
Hyperbolic's
Let me see
okay. I
what
think I think hyperbole every now I think voice crack. I think hyperbole every now and then is okay. But when it comes to it's not okay. The chat's gonna light me up. But yeah, hyperbole is okay. But directly lying about these things, even after months after the election, is definitely insane.
81 million votes. Yeah. Total votes. Kamala. I just want to see what the numbers are. Oh man, what are they? 75. So there's a 6 million difference. Is that substantial to you? I don't even know if that. I mean,
Well, Trump got the
81.
same. Let me see. Difference of votes.
Joe Biden got 81. Kamala got 75. That's a 6 million deficit.
Well,
So I don't know.
a lot
Is
of
that
people did not come
substantial?
out to vote for Kamala, but well, I mean, there was differences in what happened around the elections. So this entire election versus 2020 had around 2 million less total votes cast. Kamala Harris got more votes this election than Trump got last election, but Trump got 77 million votes this election versus Joe Biden's 81 million last election. So Trump beat Kamala by very, very small margins. But globally, incumbents lost because of inflation. Whoever's in charge got blamed for inflation. Even with Biden leading the strongest post-COVID economy, no one cared.
Yeah.
Right now, our last jobs report was fantastic, like one of the best of the last like 10 years.
I think the problem right now is the interest rates are really high. That's
yeah,
what's
but that's
killing
not
most
for
of us.
average Americans. Average Americans are getting jobs and doing very well. The interest rates are only a problem for the stock market because big companies can't leverage them.
Well, no, it's a
So
problem
the job
for
reports were good. The
people
job
like
reports
you
were
and
good,
I
by the
buying
way.
a house.
No, the job
We can't
reports
buy
were good,
houses.
but the issue is the job reports were good, but the stock market went down because they realized they couldn't have lower interest rates. So for that purpose, it's not good. But a good economy, that's the whole thing here. Do we want low interest rates and an economic crash, or do we want high interest rates and a strong economy? Which is not even, I don't think it's astronomically high, but I would rather target housing at different levels.
Specifically talking for housing, it's high.
But I'd rather target I would rather target other housing policy though. I'd rather target other housing issues with cost, so like expanding the supply of housing versus caring about interest rates. But yeah, in terms of like how substantial it is, Donald Trump had the inflation crisis being blamed on Biden. Trump lies his ass off, so people believe things about Trump that just aren't true about like Social Security. He tried cutting Social Security with every budget. No one ever knew that. Also, Trump had to combat.
Just before I forget, it's kind of hard to remember things when you're on the spot. But I have a thought. So I don't know. Tell me if this is true or not. So it's to my understanding that the right wants to have a level of transparency when it comes to voting, like voter ID. So that's they want a level of transparency. So every vote is actually locked and loaded and it's black and white. And the left, they don't want voter ID. So I feel like voter ID is the transparent solution. Is it why is there an argument against it? I feel like that wouldn't be the fair way to go, if that makes sense.
The argument against it,
I think
and
voter
making
ID
it
is a good idea. So we can be transparent and accept every election, and there's no question about it.
the argument
what I mean?
against it. Okay, the argument against it is that people think the 2020 election was stolen, not because of voter ID, but because Donald Trump told them. Okay, Donald Trump told them it was
No,
stolen.
that's fine. That's fine. Let's just grant.
That's the reason people have any issue with elections. If you can prove substantial voter fraud at any level,
It's fine. It wasn't
if you
stolen.
can prove any substantial voter fraud, I would agree. But I'm not going to pass a policy and give a bunch of loopholes or loops for people to jump through just because people are afraid of something that's not real. I'm not passing a policy for something that's not real. So if you can prove voter fraud and prove a reasoning for it, then I would be in favor of federally mandating it if this was swinging elections because of people voting illegally.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just saying people are not risking a federal crime to vote one time or to vote 2 times. That just does not happen except by accident. The only cases of voter fraud we can find are from Trump voters, in fact.
Or accidents. Okay.
Yeah, or either accidents or on purpose from Trump supporters. One of Trump's allies in Arizona tried hacking a voter machine. She tried hacking a voter machine. I forget her name. We can find her then. But the only people that have ever done anything to voter machines have been Trump supporters. So it's like, I mean, I'm not against.
But why not? Okay, let's just say everything's legit and everything's perfect. Why not do it just for peace of mind? Does that make sense? I mean, would it cost? How expensive would it be? I don't know. Is it not worth it? Is it worth it? I mean, just for peace of mind and transparency, it seems like the way to go. So no one can say nothing, if that makes sense. And there's no discrepancies and all. You know what I mean? Moving forward, let's say everything's been legit.
If you could establish a government agency for voter IDs, if you could establish a government agency where everyone gets mailed voter IDs, and we can guarantee that every single person is going to get these in a fully funded manner that's going to come right to their door, then I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm not fully against it, but it needs to be free. It needs to be given to everyone through any means, any ID or validation of address, whether it's a bill or anything, whether it's a phone bill, it's a utility bill, that should all count in these scenarios. But also we have things like signature authentication, and we have a bunch of different processes that already protect elections right now. It's a really decentralized process. Our elections are some of the safest in the world. So that's my issue with even having a conversation around this, is because we're talking about peace of mind.
There already should be a peace of mind, but the problem is there isn't.
Yeah, but that is the fault of propaganda and lies. That's propaganda and lies from Donald Trump. So why would I pass a policy to satiate these lies from Trump when he's just going to make another lie after this policy passes when he loses an election? Like, he was going to lie about that election regardless. Because guess what? He lied about elections in states that have voter ID. He lied about elections in states that had these policies to secure, quote unquote, secure these elections. He literally said that somehow the Democrats rigged the election in the same races where Republican congressmen won. So somehow Democrats were so good at rigging the election. When Trump was in office, by the way, Trump was in office in 2020, and he said Democrats won he rigged the election. He was in office and he said they rigged the election. Somehow they rigged the election just for Biden, but for no other races down ballot. And also, when Biden's in office in 2024, they were unable to rig the election. Somehow they rigged the election when Donald Trump was president, and they couldn't rig the election when Joe Biden was president. So all these anxieties and everything is founded off of propaganda and lies that people just believe because they want to believe it.
Be fair. I like to be fair and play devil's advocate and all this. So it comes from both sides. You know, when Trump won in 2016, you know, they were saying the same shit, right? And it's just back and forth. I'm saying, hey, let's have a foolproof voter ID.
They were not okay.
Does that make sense?
2016,
it was going both. It was both ways.
It's not both ways. It's not both ways. It's not both ways. In 2016,
Russian collusion.
In 2016, what would voter ID do about Russian collusion?
No, I'm saying Democrats felt the same way about the 2016 election.
No, they didn't. In 2016, they never said the election was stolen. They said that the media was influenced by Russia through media sites, through social media sites, which is found through qualitative and quantitative studies. We have the data here to support this.
I get what you're saying. I mean,
they never said the vote count was incorrect. No. They never said the vote count was incorrect. They said there was a propaganda network. They never said the elections were stolen or election machines were hacked or ballot boxes were moved around. Donald Trump made all these claims that the vote count was wrong, that Democrats threw away ballots. He spread videos that were just election workers doing their job, saying these are ballots being thrown away and being moved to a hidden part. And it was just literally a normal part of the process. And he lied about it. Donald Trump in 2020 is in no world similar at all to 2016, when Hillary Clinton conceded the very next day and never questioned the results of the election after she won. She won the popular vote by 3 million, and she did not question the results of the election. Donald Trump lost the popular vote by 7 million, and he did question the results of the election. He lied about them. He said it was stolen. He said it was stolen. It's not irrelevant in the sense that Hillary Clinton, okay, she won by 3 million votes and still did not say the election was unfair, other than she said that the media was manipulated by a foreign actor. Okay, that's her claim. Donald Trump lost by 7 million votes and still said that those are fabricated, that they're fake, that ballot boxes were moved.
He was basing it on the electoral college, not the popular vote.
he based it off of the votes in these different states, which would have added up to a lot of different votes. He called the Georgia election people and said, find me 11,000 or 10,000 whatever votes. He violated Georgia law by trying to influence election officials to throw out ballots or to find ballots. And then after all that failed, when he tried all these legal challenges that failed because they were wrong, then he kept on lying about the election up until the day of the election. They tried proposing an alternative slate of electors, and those got denied as well when Mike Pence said, no, we're not going to try this. Sure, it's against the Electoral College Act, but Donald Trump still wanted to pressure Mike Pence to try and decertify the election. And Trump's final push was getting a really angry crowd there on January 6th. He didn't know what was going to happen, but he wanted a really angry crowd to go make their voices heard. So after that, he wiped his hands clean of it and watched it on TV for a while before he actually made a statement. So Trump in 2020 and Hillary in 2016 is not anywhere in the same ballpark. It's not in the same universe. It's not even in the same... it's not in the same. I don't even know a word to explain how different these scenarios are. There was not election denialism in 2016 ever. Even in 2000, Democrats had more of a claim to say that the election was actually stolen in 2000 through the court case and how close the razor sharp marches in Florida. But even then, Al Gore, the Democrat, gave it up right away. He conceded right away once the court ruling was made. He gave up right away. He did not fight that at all. Trump tried to overturn the election and make everyone not trust American elections on purpose for his own, service of his own ill ambitions.
Yeah, so whether it would be voter ID or some other way, what I'm saying from this point forward, for transparency and peace of mind, there should be a new system. That's all
There should be transparency and peace of mind if people understood the election process, but even with everything in place right now, people don't believe it. So why would I think that that's going to improve if we have voter ID? Why would I ever think that's going to improve? Because Trump
maybe
did not
it's
care
not
about
voter ID.
anything real.
Maybe there's some other way. I'm just saying.
The other way is not lying to people. It's not lying to people. It's people like Donald Trump not lying. That's why X or Twitter, that's why Twitter and Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook and all the social media platforms banned Donald Trump after January 6th because his lies were so inflammatory and causing violence. That's why they banned him on January 6th or after January 6th, on January 7th or whatever. They banned him because they needed to. And I'm just saying, comparing that, anyone that compares that to 2016 is a slimy little rat. Like they really are. Like they're
saying.
Yeah. I'm not saying you are, but the people that you hear that say that.
It wasn't to the same point, but it wasn't like there wasn't anyone saying, "Oh, Russia collusion." Like, come on, like I don't know. That was a thing, wasn't it? I thought it was.
There is evidence. Okay, so Paul Manafort?
Oh, it sounds familiar, actually.
So he led part of Trump's campaign in 2016. He was a Russian propagandist working in Ukraine for a puppet government installed by Russia from 2004 to 2014. And then he became head of Trump's campaign in 2016. Steve Bannon has a lot of weird ties. General Michael Flynn has a lot of weird ties. There is reasoning right there. Okay, Donald Trump saying, release the emails, go find the emails. Donald Trump, and we already have evidence of the connections and the communications between Russia and different people that Trump is very close to. And we have direct evidence of Russia purposely giving us information that is fake and purposely influencing our media waves and social media. That's one of the biggest things we found as a result of our analysis of
crazy.
Facebook,
I always
for
thought
example.
the media was always on the left side for the most part, like 90%.
Social media and disinformation. Russia helped supply a lot of the lies that people believe going into the election. It's all about getting people to believe nothing through chaos. But that part, saying that Russia colluded with Trump, that is, okay, so Russian collusion, okay, you need to prove the collusion aspect, which we have some evidence there, but we have 100% confidence. We have 150 million% confidence because we do this in other countries, okay? We do it in other countries. We try to give information that'll ruin other countries too during elections. It's how intelligence agencies go after each other. But it's 100% proven that Russia influenced the election in favor of Donald Trump. Now, collusion is the other question as far as like impeachment or criminal cases go. But still, saying that claim about Russia influencing the election is not, even at the, even the craziest, liberal that's going to say, whatever, and they're more founded in that belief than most people would be about elections. But still, they never questioned the vote count. They questioned the propaganda
I totally
networks.
understand what you're saying. That's why I was just saying, hey, from this point forward, what can we do for full transparency and peace of
Stop lying
mind?
to people. We need our
I just
leaders
would
to
like to
stop
leave
lying
it
to
at
people.
that,
We,
you
we
know?
need our president to stop lying to people. We need personal responsibility. We need someone to have any type of balls,
But see,
and also female balls.
that can't be guaranteed though. So we need something that guarantees that
That doesn't guarantee
can,
it though. Nothing guarantees it.
yeah.
We've done everything to be transparent, but nothing guarantees it. And like I said, even in states that have these laws more effectively, more thoroughly, Donald Trump still objects to their
Well, that
results.
kind of sucks because that means this is just gonna keep happening.
Yeah, it
If
sucks.
there's,
We need
you
to
know what I
stop
mean?
voting in people like Donald Trump who are pathological liars. I agree, but that's the big issue with what's happening right now. It's not really institutional. It's not even legal. It's not political. The issue is that the
Yeah.
American culture and social and our society and culture is shifting to an area where we don't like any conversations about logic. Everything's a conspiracy theory. Even with California, there's 5 million conspiracy theories about it already.
Yeah,
with literally every
say
topic.
that they say that every conspiracy theory is true. It just takes time. That's the funny part. I don't know if that's true. Well, like
It's
9/11,
not.
that shit was pretty fishy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happened, to be honest. I'll never know. No one will ever know. You know, I mean, just some of the other buildings were it was almost like a demolition. You know.
For everything you're talking about right now, you could find research papers on it. You could find people you could find people talking about this in detail. When you talk about like everything's a conspiracy until it's proven right, that's literally because people who believe them don't actually do their own research. They find an opinion they want to believe and they just run with it. They don't do research. Because if you want to do a night looking into real information from 9/11, but that's why Donald Trump is so big when he says like, oh, I don't trust any mainstream media. I don't trust any media at all except the media that likes me. Then we can't trust any institutions at all, and that benefits him because he gets to lie over and over again. He doesn't like stats or data or media or institutions or academia because none of it agrees with him. There is not one data set on any policy that agrees with Donald Trump. And economists economists have said this, and you know every field has said this about Trump. So delegitimize the media, delegitimize all that kind of stuff, and then believe in conspiracy theories, especially around things like vaccines or whatever. Like the polio vaccine is a discussion again in America. Like one of the greatest inventions in human history, the polio vaccine is now one of the biggest discussions again because of RFK and Trump.
Oh, like causing autism or something? What do you mean?
Yeah, that's been debunked more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
And they're bringing it, but they also think the polio vaccine might be dangerous. They think the polio vaccine might be dangerous. Joe Rogan thinks the polio vaccine is actually dangerous and a bad thing. He's not even like questioning it.
No, I mean he had a comedy bit about it, like, oh, I'm nobody, I don't know shit, and don't listen to me. That's what it was just kind of
Then
funny.
everyone listens to him, which is the funny
I
part.
know.
It's like, don't
Yeah,
listen
you're
to
right
me, I'm
about
stupid.
that.
By the way,
Being
vote Donald Trump.
super dumb or extra dumb is valued over anything else. Like Hawk Tuah, like what the fuck? Like that's I can't believe that's even
We talk
a
about
thing. Like,
hawkonomics. We don't talk about economics in America.
crazy.
We talk about
I know.
hawkonomics
Yeah,
instead.
no, I totally agree with that. Everything it's all about popular. Who's popular? I don't know why that's popular though. It doesn't make sense to me. What the hell? Like, it's crazy, you know.
Hawkonomics, and everything's a big rug pull.
It really is. That's a really good term. Hawkonomics.
Crypto's been scamming people. Crypto has provided no function except devaluing the U.S. dollar and scamming people so far.
Yeah,
it's been the main function.
No, I
so
wasn't
far.
talking about her crypto. I was talking about just the fact that she became rich over some stupid like interview that has no.
I mean, Donald Trump became
all.
president, and he's a reality TV star. He has no other accolades to be president other than that, and being like charismatic and being funny. Those are his like characteristics of why he's president. So I mean, anything can happen, dude. Maybe Hawk Tuah should run for president.
It's a popular contest.
Hawk Tuah should run for president for Republicans. If I saw Hawk Tuah out there, I'd probably vote for her. That's the first Republican I'll vote for president. There you go.
That's funny. Yeah.
If you don't
okay,
don't
so
talk to her.
I guess I would assume that for the Second Amendment, you don't like guns. I would assume.
I don't. I am in favor of background checks expanding.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of pushing for an assault weapons ban. I think there's other policies you could do that gun owners would agree with, that most gun owners by a large margin would agree with, that are in line with the Second Amendment. So I wouldn't go too crazy on guns.
Yeah, because I don't know. I got into it a lot of Second Amendment debates, about people who want to ban guns or assault weapons, which is a vague term and it's not specific. At least I don't think it is, unless it is. But I always thought it was weird. It's because you don't need a gun to kill people. Like I would tell them, hey, let's just say we banned all guns, and I wanted to go on a killing spree. I would just get a truck and drive through the elementary school blacktop campus during recess and kill 100 kids. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need a gun.
Chill.
The gun's not the problem. It's the person. You know.
Well,
If there's a will, there's a way. So the gun aspect, it's a tool, it's a mechanism.
There's already so many guns in America, and also a lot of gun deaths are accidental, like a lot of them, and also suicides. So those are big concerns with guns in general. So I always say if you have any mental health issues, I'd probably say don't have a firearm, just in general, because that increases, especially for men. A man having a gun around is one of the highest predictors if he's going to kill himself, because if he has that, usually it's impulsive. Like
yeah, you know, it's like I don't
it lasts around 10 minutes,
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, like so Naya River 91. I just turned 33. I've never owned a gun. I never needed one. I don't really want one. I don't really care. But I like the fact that I have that right to get one if there's some shit going down and I need some kind of defense, you know. So I'm very pro Second Amendment, but I don't even have a gun. I think that's kind of funny actually.
I mean, it's not really. People have all these theories, but like, unless if we're gonna have missile silos or whatever, like the protection from the government isn't really a thing. There's a lot of evidence that having a gun in certain situations actually makes it more dangerous and more likely to escalate. So like for women, for example, a lot of women are actually less safe to have a gun, even if they train with it, because they could be overpowered so easily. But it's like,
I agree.
But it's like, there's nuances to it, and it's just like, I don't know. I really just don't. It's not a big topic for me. It's not something that's going to move anybody.
So you don't
expanded
die
background
on that
checks
hill.
and stuff.
I
Well,
see.
expanded background checks and stuff would be what I'd go for. There's so many guns in America. If we lived in Australia and they can just get every gun out of their country, I mean, like they did, then maybe I'd be, different
But yeah,
in my policy applications. But
I get what you're saying. About the needing it against the government. But yeah, I would say that would be the number one reason to be able to own a gun is against tyranny.
Well, I mean, I think that's just I think banning disinformation is much worse. Or like I feel like misinformation is a much bigger threat to and this is proven. Like for guns to come out from the military, people being fragmented and following demagogues and authoritarian leaders leads to tyranny, not really guns. The citizenry having guns is not. I mean, that might make it more likely because some people are going to be on board with the authoritarian. It doesn't. That's just an argument that I don't really like. If you want to talk about personal defense and all that kind of stuff, I understand that could be the original intent, possibly, of the Second Amendment. But also in today's world, I mean, like I said before, if we're not going to have missiles, like the government's, you're not stopping the government. I'm sorry, like. Or whatever the government is. I don't even know what the government means anymore, because the government's not one person. I hate when people talk about it like it's one person. Like,
I would even say, if something were to happen, there would be factions. It wouldn't just be a one-sided government. There would be an internal conflict, I would say. But yeah, whatever. That's a movie to be made. That's not something we'll have to worry about yet, I guess, if at all.
If we live in that world, I don't know if I want to survive anyway. So. If the world is collapsing.
I know. That's gonna be crazy. There's so many movies like that right now.
Well, people are seemingly bored to live in the natural, or not natural. People are seemingly bored to live in the modern world. We're kind of bored, so we need some fun stuff to happen, which is why people are probably pushing for all these rapid social changes. I feel like people are bored in America. They just want something to happen, because like Trump doesn't do. If you look at. And I'm probably gonna. I want McDonald's. I might go get McDonald's.
What, you gonna offend someone by saying something? What are you saying?
No, I gotta go get McDonald's. That is offensive. I'm craving like fries though.
No, I thought you said. Oh, I shouldn't. I thought
they're
you
down
said,
the road.
I shouldn't say
They're
that.
down. No, they're down the road. But just in general, it seems like Trump's actual policies as president were basically George Bush Part 2, but he says things and people like the things he says. So it's like people don't vote for policies. So I don't know. It's hard to really judge where we are as a country. And people barely voted for Trump.
I would have never thought to make that comparison. He seems more of like an outsider.
No, I mean his actual policies were George Bush Part 2. He sounded different because he's a brander, but if you look at his policies he passed were George Bush, and his economic and his foreign policy agenda. They always say he started no new wars, but his conflict increased. Like they have conflicts. I love that argument too, the no new wars argument.
Which one?
It's like.
Oh yeah.
Because war is a very specific term. Okay, if you want to use the very specific, like we didn't declare war or participate in a war, we're still engaged
Yeah,
in
but
conflicts
there's
everywhere.
violence within our military all around. Yeah, no.
Yeah, like Trump had 4 times more combat deaths than Biden did as president. Like 4 times more. But Biden gets blamed for pulling out of Afghanistan. Trump killed more by staying there. So
Well,
I mean,
I think he got blamed for the way it happened, not because it happened.
well,
Just
we
it
followed
was
Trump's plan though, and Trump's plan was even worse. Like Trump's plan was to pull out in April before things were even somewhat stable. Biden delayed it until the third quarter of the year, and got blamed for it. He
Yeah.
actually helped Trump's plan get better, but it's whatever. Trump tried negotiating with the Taliban. We had a fake government there. It was going to collapse really soon. Like we had no choice. It just sucks. And the equipment is a stupid argument because we're not going to sacrifice more people dying to get the equipment. It's
Oh
just so
yeah,
weird.
put a tank of gas in the airplane or something. I remember that. Yeah.
We could get more equipment. Like I mean, if
Well, I
Biden
think
would have kept
I think-
people there to get the equipment and 20 more would have died, he would have been even more eviscerated.
Yeah,
so.
I think what should have happened if they're gonna leave it, they should at least destroy it.
I don't. I mean, I hear that argument. I just don't. I feel like people are just trying to.
Yeah, I guess
nitpick
it doesn't
around a
really
tough
matter.
situation. It's Afghanistan. People wanted to get out forever. People wanted to leave forever. It was okay. It was never.
Probably should have never been there, to be honest.
It was never going to be good leaving Afghanistan. It was never going to be pretty. There's no situation leaving Afghanistan, pulling out, in which American soldiers did not die. Never. That was never even a possibility. But everyone's being sold this idealistic version of the world where if something doesn't go perfect, I get to blame you for it because I play partisan politics and I don't care about what's actually happening in the world. And it's kind of disgusting in a sense that all these deaths are being so weaponized for political purposes when it's a very difficult thing. Like some things in life are just difficult. We do our best and we learn from it as much as we can and we move on. It's not always malicious. It's not always incompetence. Sometimes it's just a bad situation. You could have had the best generals, the best president ever. And you might have, there's a chance that with Trump doing it, 50 more people die. There's a chance that Biden's outcome was actually good, but they're not going to judge,
Yeah,
if
there's
a
no
house
way
is
to
burning.
know for sure. You can't go. Yeah, no, I get it. You can't go back in time and give the other guy a shot.
Like
There's just
if
no
a
way to
house
know
is
for
burning
sure.
down and like the bedroom burns, but we save the rest of the house, it's like we're gonna get blamed for being the firefighter that put that fire out in the bedroom. Versus like it
No,
could
I
have
get
gone
it.
a lot
You're
worse.
damned
Like,
damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it was just whoever's in power that they're gonna get the blame. That's just
And all
how
these
it
people
works.
in chat, these are the comments against what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right
well,
now,
read the
okay?
comments. Do they hate me? I
Okay,
don't
so
know. Am I boring?
they hate me. They hate me because
Oh, they hate you?
It's all Trump on
No,
shorts.
I turned off.
But here's the
I
comments that reject my opinions though. Here's the comments that reject what I just said. You're an idiot, seriously. Okay. Where do you get your info from? Rachel Maddow ? Someone said, so people falling off the planes wasn't him pulling out. Again, if you live in a cartoon world where everything's perfect, fine. But if you want to leave Afghanistan, you have to understand what Afghanistan is. But you probably can't even find it on a map. Talk to some vets and see. Okay, you can talk to some vets. I respect veterans. Thank you for your service. But some vets are freaking like they don't have the right opinions. Okay, some vets don't have the right opinions. General Michael Flynn is not to be respected. He's anti-American. He literally wants a coup in America. I can't stand this. I'm leaving. Bye, everyone. I hope this fool does more research and opens his mind and gains a sense of humility. Let's see. You never pull out the military first. What do you think? What kind of situation do you think it was? The government in Afghanistan, in the capital, like in the area they were, like that was propped up by the U.S. The moment the U.S. even shows signs of moving out, that was going to collapse. Like you just don't know what you're talking about. And remember, everyone in the comments, I could go through this comment for like 10 hours, and no one will provide one single.
How many
argument.
viewers? Is it still 500 or did more people join?
No,
Is anyone saying anything about what I said, or I don't know about the voter ID?
No,
and stuff?
they're here to attack me. I didn't watch it a while ago. But I'll probably put this on one of my YouTube channels after, or YouTube Shorts, so you can look.
Oh,
on
is that
it,
how it
you
works? Yeah, you
on
can
there.
just re-upload it and I can scroll down.
Yeah, it's like I'll record these segments and whatever. We have like 200 people watching right now.
Okay.
There was 350.
Do you ever talk about religion or no?
Yeah, I'm kind of just chilling right now. I talk about religion a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. No, like I would say I'm anti-theist. I wouldn't say I'm atheist because that's the lazy way. I think I would say there is no God, but I'm like center right. That's kind of where I lean, it seems. If that makes sense. To me,
Yeah.
I might be brainwashed, who knows, but I feel like I feel like the Republicans are the lesser of two evils. That's how it seems to me. But I don't know. That's just kind of how I don't know why, cuz I have liberal beliefs and conservative beliefs, but I find myself leaning right for some
Republicans are
reason.
really good at selling a narrative and a vision for America, especially if you don't know every policy in the world. They're really good at selling the narrative and manipulating people and propagandizing things. So, like for example,
I feel like both sides might be good at that, right? I mean,
okay, so you need to look
it's
at, but this is an example of what they do because they say that as their propaganda because both
because
sides are
Kamala
clearly.
did have more funding for the election.
That's not true
So
either. So the
it's not.
campaign,
I thought it was.
okay, so there's different. Are you familiar?
Of what?
I'm sorry. I just have these conversations all the time, and it breaks my brain
It's
sometimes.
okay.
So
Yeah, my
Kamala's
bad.
regular
What do you
campaign.
want to talk about? What do you want to talk about?
Listen. Kamala's regular campaign had more money than Trump's regular campaign. Okay, the official campaigns. Then you have PACs and super PACs, and then you have some weird money laundering Trump did with his $100,000 watches that don't exist, which could only be paid for through cryptocurrency. Trump had the richest billionaires in the world support him. Kamala had a lot of lower level billionaires, but for Trump, he was supported by Elon Musk, Bezos,
Elon
Zuckerberg.
Musk, for sure, yeah.
Musk gave $300 million alone. Adelson is who he gave the Medal of Freedom to. She
I
bought
thought
that
there was a
essentially.
limit. There's a limit per person. To
Super
what they
PACs
can-
have
what
no
can be
limits,
given.
and this is dark money in politics
okay.
that they say.
Okay,
so
that's how. Okay.
super PACs have unlimited spending. It's one of our worst campaign finance rules that we have. It was a court ruling from the Supreme Court, whatever number of years ago, probably 50. I'm just gonna say 50 years ago. I don't know the exact year, but
Yeah,
still,
that's fine.
that's one of the things where people, and the media, the independent journalists, they're all liars. They're all liars. They're not any better than mainstream media. They're probably worse in some scenarios. Mainstream media, I don't like either, but independent media has literally zero standard for evidence. But yeah, Trump had more overall money spent on his campaign, including Elon Musk buying Twitter. Like Elon Musk buying Twitter, he turned it into a system where left-wing accounts got suppressed, and this was done by independent researchers. Left-wing accounts got suppressed at his request, and right-wing accounts got boosted. So Elon Musk used Twitter as a propaganda arm for Trump. So that's $40 billion in Twitter that you can say some of that money, a good portion, was used as a propaganda tool for Donald Trump and all of his disinformation. But you can look at the policies that each side wants to do. Okay, they both have donors, but they're different kinds of donors. So Republicans want to tax rich people a lot less. Okay, Democrats want to tax rich people more. Clear distinction. Democrats want to limit corruption more. Republicans don't. They want to cut taxes for the wealthy, and they want to remove agencies like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which just protects American consumers from being screwed over. So like, there's clear policy. What I would say is, instead of going into every single detail, so I can go get McDonald's. Basically, look at the policies they push for and the policies they pass, and judge based off of that where their alliances lay. Because if you listen to them talk, Republicans are able to talk very well. They're great at seducing people into their vision of the future. But if you look at the policies they both push for, there's such a clear distinction between the parties on the policies they push for. It'll be very clear in the next 4 years which policies Trump goes for and which policies Democrats try to pass, on which one is for the working class and which one is not. But again, Joe Biden got zero credit. He got zero credit for the infrastructure plan. He got zero credit for quadrupling American manufacturing. He got zero credit for doing protectionism with tariffs. He got zero credit for investing and opening. Most of Biden's policies funded red states, by the way, from the federal government. He got zero credit for coming and having America have the strongest economy post-COVID of any economy in the entire world. Biden got zero credit for any policies he did. In fact, that was used as a negative against him because people will believe someone that has a better narrative versus someone who just does the job. It's like talking to I use the example of a car salesman versus the Carfax or a mechanic. So the Carfax or a mechanic will tell you in very plain detail what's happening. Okay, very excruciating detail. Just like, hey, this is what happened to the car, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
and
the car
salesman
salesman is
has to
like,
be charismatic.
hey, buddy, look at this car. I was talking to my boss. I talked to him so many times. I tried to get you the best price possible. I think he's gonna kill me, but I could get you out of here today. This Toyota Tacoma 2025, only $60,000 at a 32% APR. That's the best rate I gave anyone today. And it's like, yeah, they're able to talk people up. I've seen people buy cars based off the car salesman being convincing, and Trump is really good at that. So I just all of us are susceptible, and I check myself too. Like, I've seen myself following. I bit into the Donald Trump poison in 2016. I had a idea like, oh, this guy talks popular, like he might be for this stuff. But then I grew up and looked
honestly,
at the policies,
me,
like, okay, the policies are not that good.
It genuinely feels like Donald Trump cares about this country, though, in my opinion. It seems more like he's doing this for the American people, not for himself. That's how it seems to me. Like, it's almost like he could retire and go live on an island and just chill and do whatever he wants. But I feel like he's giving the last chapter of his life to help the common American out. That's how it seems, at least. I don't know if that's a
What
narrative.
policy did he do to help the common American out? Like, what policies is he advocating for to help first responders and working class people and to increase wages and stuff like that? In his campaign in 2024, which policy is pro-working class?
I guess we'll see. We'll see. It's undetermined at this point.
Do you think it's a little bit weird that Trump's been president or has been running for president for almost 10 years, and you said he really cares about this country, but you cannot name one thing that he actually stands for?
No, what I'm saying is, let's see what he does, because that's actually what's going to determine that.
When Donald Trump funneled money into his own businesses while in the White House by staying at his own resorts, and also when his family got billion-dollar investments from Saudi Arabia due to his time in the White House, I just don't think that was very pro-American. When Donald Trump said during the campaign he's giving favors to Elon Musk because he gave him money, that's not very pro-American. When Trump said we should suspend the Constitution because he thinks the 2020 election was stolen, that was very un-American. When Trump said we should be using the military against American citizens and his political opponents, that was very un-American. And also, Trump has said so many things against the First Amendment, like jailing people who burn the American flag. That's also very anti-American. There's so many things he's done that are anti-American, and actual policies he's done. I would just want to know an example of something he ran on in 2024 that shows he cares about America, other than messaging on it, because he went to a grocery store for the first time. He said,
well,
these beautiful groceries. I just learned the first word. It's called groceries. It's the place where everyone goes to for food. Actually, no. Under Biden's presidency, he got more NATO countries to meet their funding goals than Trump did during his presidency. So Biden did better on that front than Trump did. Trump complained about it.
I don't know if that's true, but if it is, at least Donald Trump opened a conversation for it to
so
be
Trump's he's a good podcaster or a good president? That's my
thing. I'm saying
that was already a thing.
The conversation was started.
That was already a thing. Trump made it political, but it was already a thing. Countries were working to meet these goals. It was countries are still working to meet these goals, but now more than ever are meeting their funding goals. And the funding goals is them meeting a certain percentage of their GDP in defense spending. And more countries did that under Biden. It's cooperative. It's not, we're not competing. We're not forcing countries to do this. We're in this treaty that benefits everyone for global stability.
They shouldn't be forced to do anything. They're in an agreement. They should honor the agreement.
Yeah, and they are honoring it. So they're meeting the targets. There's nothing they violated with it. They did not violate anything with the agreement, but they never violated anything with the agreement. It's a target goal that countries have been meeting more and more throughout the past 15 years. And Trump made it political. But when he says they're stealing from America, blah, 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 America decides the world initiatives. We have bases in all these countries for a reason. We get the investment. We get the return on investment. We get the return. And we get to guide a lot of these movements because we're the biggest, one that funds it. We lead the entire globe. That's why the president is so important to understand. They understand, to even understand they have one concept of a policy or even a real policy. That's why it's such a big deal, because this person guides the entire globe, including our defense treaties. And Trump wants to leave NATO, which is the most successful, treaty organization we've ever seen in human history, probably, to keep the globe stable. He wants to leave that because of dumb, petty political reasons that don't even make sense, because more countries are meeting it than ever before. I guarantee you, by the way, if every country meets their spending goals in the next 2 years, he's going to find another reason to want to leave NATO. Well, we can talk about that later. But still, I still have not heard if you've seen a policy or a speech where he seems really caring. He's really caring, and he really cares about the American people in the past, past election.
Well, I mean, he was big on the border, on hey, who's coming in, who's not coming in. So I mean, for I don't know, anyone could be coming in and having some kind of plan of attack or something, and it's just
So
it
scaring
seems
Americans into thinking that they're being invaded by illegal aliens, as he calls them, so they're scared to walk outside. When in reality, it's very isolated cases, and immigrants have lower crime rates than American naturally born citizens. But it's like that was a lie, but that shows his care for the
okay.
American people and the American process. You realize the way he speaks about America, the way he speaks about immigration. Ronald Reagan, if he was reborn today, or
He did the same
reincarnated,
thing.
whatever. No. Ronald Reagan would be like, "What the hell are you talking about with immigration?" Ronald Reagan spoke very highly of America being that beautiful place people want to come to, and we need to make sure the processes work. If Trump really cared about immigration, he would have let the border bill pass that the most conservative member of Congress wrote a few months ago. He would have let that pass, but he
Well,
told
that's
all
the
the
thing about
Republicans to
these
not vote for
bills.
it.
They put in a bunch of other things in there. They don't separate so that they pay past the border
The
bill, but
Ukrainian funding was passed
more
separately. I
money.
already
But
know you're about to. I already know what you're about to
no,
bring
no,
up.
no. I know, but I'm just saying that it should be a separate bill. You know
The
what I mean?
Ukrainian funding was passed in a separate bill.
But they try to
I
get more
already
money out
knew.
of it.
I already
They
knew.
try
No,
to
no,
get
no,
more money out of
nope.
it through the
No, it was
border bill.
the same exact. No, I knew. You know what's funny there? I knew exactly what you were going to bring up. I knew exactly what, because that's what the talking heads on the right. That's their narrative. I knew
So it's
exactly
not
what you were going to
true.
say,
I don't
right?
know. I mean,
They
this is
already
not
passed.
true.
They
I don't know.
passed the same funding in a different bill. That was just a dumb argument they used to not pass it. That the funding was passed.
So why was it in there then? Why was it in the border bill then? I
Sometimes it's
don't
more
understand.
efficient to pass it all in one bill if you already have a bipartisan
Okay.
consensus on it. If you already know it's going to be bipartisan, but Trump ruined the bipartisan agreement. But yeah, they ended up passing the Ukraine funding anyway, so it's like, okay, well, there's your one reason that they threw out the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. It might as well take a win with a loss, I guess, in their eyes. But they just took a loss.
It would have been if
I
you
guess.
care about immigration, that would have been a huge win. That's like the Obamacare or the ACA for Republicans. You know, they say the bill's not perfect, but it's a bipartisan moment where a bill like that can get done. It's probably the only time a bill like that can get done, and they threw it away because they just didn't they just didn't want to make Donald Trump mad because Donald Trump wanted to run on that issue. So that doesn't sound like someone who loves his country. If you love your country, you're probably gonna show some patriotism ever. Like with the recent California fires, he literally made it political and cried about things, and he sounded like a 12-year-old. He did not say thank you first responders one
Yeah.
time.
What were they? What's going on with those fire hydrants? I guess there was no water in them. Is it just it wasn't
There
the
was
draw? It was
water.
just
There was water, but so many
pressure wasn't
firemen
good enough or something.
or so many firefighters, men and women,
Yeah.
and other. So many firefighters were out there. Okay, so the fire hydrants closer to the reservoir had higher pressure. The ones that were further away had lower pressure. So the firefighters that were closer to the source had higher pressure. The ones further away had lower pressure. There was enough water, more than enough water.
Wait, so
Donald Trump lied
so-
about the reservoirs not being full. Donald Trump lied about the reservoirs not being full, by the way, because they diverted water to the fish or whatever, but that was a complete lie. There was no issues with the lack of water in California. It was the water pressure.
The water pressure. Okay.
And
Damn.
water towers create water pressure through gravity, and you need electric pumps in order to get the water back in there. So that's another issue you might find in these scenarios. But that's just something that's going to happen. And Republicans and Donald Trump politicized it. I still don't have you haven't given me one point for how for a point that shows Donald Trump loves this country. Why does he say that Vladimir Putin is super strong and he loves how China rules over their people with an iron fist? Like, why does he say that about our authoritarian adversaries? You're muted, by the way. I don't know if you're talking. All right, I want McDonald's. Not gonna lie. He left. Or he got muted or something. The reservoir has been down some time due to repairs. Do you think? There's not one reservoir. There's not just one. There's not just one reservoir. You are shaking, bro. Run away, FAG. I don't blame him. NATO sucks. Eat Chipotle. They drained them. Yeah, dude. You were there. Thank you, Lee. By the way, channel member goal. We're at 33 out of 100. All right. If you support this content, please consider becoming a channel member for $2.99 a month. It's only $3 a month. Okay. Doing this content is not going to be the most fun thing in the world for the hours that I do it for. But the memberships do make me happy when I go through my depressive episodes after my terrible conversations with people who understand nothing about the world. But yeah, if you become a channel member, really appreciate that. I'm trying to get 100 channel members by the end of the month. Probably not going to be able to, but we got 33 out of 100 for the channel member goal right now. And yeah, thank you, Agolf. The lie about the fire department being decreased is also a lie. Is also a lie.
These LA firefighters.
These LA firefighters are using purses to fight fires, guys.
These LA firefighters are going.
I love these, by the way. These make me so happy. Can I not do this? Can I put this like full screen? There you go. Okay, you are the media, independent journalists. Okay, everyone is.
Viral right now because they had to use designer handbags to carry water instead of using fire hoses. What in the world?
So if you see a video like this, they have no buckets. All right, they have no hoses. But they do have water, and they found handbags to dump the water on the fire. Now this video is fake, but this went viral. Remember that.
Firemen don't have hoses, so they're like literally using purses, women's handbags, filling up women's.
Look at this face right here, dude.
Now, this video went viral today because of the wildfires happening in Los Angeles, and people are confused as to why these firefighters did not have fire hoses. Celebrities that live in the area were even posting about it, saying that these firefighters risking their lives to save.
Real James Woods, okay? This guy lied about his house being burnt down. Oh god, dude, I can't freaking talk. I want McDonald's. Real James Woods. This guy lied about his house being burned down, by the way. So this is another liar on X. So we look at a fake post that's shared by another liar.
Save our homes deserve the highest praise and gratitude. They said that the politicians who did not leave these firefighters with adequate resources being used to use.
And I'm sorry, dude. If you look up something like this, if you see a video like this and you don't look it up, like shut up. You should be banned from posting for like 10 years.
Purses should be in jail.
Not
this
really.
Is after people
First
have
Amendment.
gone back home now that the fires are starting to die down and showing that their entire neighborhoods have been.
I mean, the fires are still kind of going on.
Down. Firefighters said they were running out of water. The ones we just saw were running out of fire hoses.
They were not running out of water anywhere. The water pressure was low because so many fire hydrants were in use.
And nobody else knows the extent of how bad they were not prepared. Entire neighborhoods.
No one else knows the extent to how bad they were not prepared. Oh, man.
That used to look like this now look like this. It looks like an absolute war zone. But to all of the first responders and firefighters like these in Los Angeles, thank you for what you're doing.
You know what? He thanked our first responders, which is something Donald Trump refused to do. All right. Donald Trump hates our American first responders. He loves making everything political. But still, this misinformation, disinformation, I hear this everywhere, dude. And now that Zuckerberg is in favor of fake information on Facebook and Instagram, I used to be safe, you know. I have family that uses only Facebook. They're not on Twitter, and I was safe. I was safe from these conspiracy theories. Now I'm gonna have family members bringing up how there's purses and how there's gay firefighters, and that's the reason the fires are happening. And also they're covering up P. Diddy evidence by doing the fires. I'm gonna hear all these conspiracy theories now from my family. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, random conspiracy theorists. Thank you, people who have zero care for sharing false information about terrible tragedies. You're awesome. I love you.
These LA firefighters.
That's for a TikTok, by the way. If I got memberships for all the chats I go to, I'd be spending a fortune, but please support this channel. LOL. I'm going to believe they are using purses before doing anything. Is there any conspiracy theories you believe is real? I mean, what ones? Any conspiracy theory I think is real would probably be something fact-based that you just call a conspiracy theory because you haven't looked into it enough. And your conspiracy theories are probably everything you don't look into, so you probably believe some that are pretty wonky. But by the way, some conspiracies can be right because you can make up any conspiracy theory. So if you make up a million conspiracies, then one might be right eventually. Then you could just say you got everything right all the time because your one prediction out of a million got. It's like putting. You're filling every spot on the. You filled every spot on the roulette wheel. You have no chance to lose anything. Well, you're gonna lose. You're still gonna lose, but you look like you won. But you still technically hit. So entitled. R.I.P. Haven. You're using internet right now watching YouTube short stream, okay? You're not living in the 1800s looking, trying to find clean water. Shut up. You freaking crybaby. Ugh. Do I know anything about UK politics? Yeah, I endorsed Andrew Tate. The person who practices Islam, who is now saying Islam is the curse of the world, running for the Bruv Party. Wait, you said conspiracy theories. If you say, okay, there's a difference between conspiracy theories and a conspiracy. Those are different things. All right. I'm gonna be gone. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Lee. You think Trump hates fire? You should be in a One last question before I go to McDonald's. One last question. Do you think if I made a dumbass emote for members, do you think it would be flagged by YouTube? Is dumbass a curse word? Like on YouTube? Like is dumbass a curse word? Yeah, Trump needs to live in a world of nonsense, of course, yeah. That's one of the main points. Trump's your daddy. You guys are weird. Dumbass. How many genders do we have? We have one gender. The entire world is nonsense. Nope, some things make a lot of sense, okay? Some things make a lot of sense. You just don't know. You just don't understand it. You just can't understand it. You don't have the capabilities. And that's okay. That's okay. You just got to listen to music and have a good life, buddy. I hope you have a good life.
Oh, hey.
You should find out. I bet you if you find out a little bit about him, out of nowhere, it's just gonna make you take a few deep breaths and straighten your back.
I think Jola joined in here. Hey, I
Yeah,
think
he
Jola
did.
joined in here.
Jola's in here. Hey,
These
Jola.
fucking old heads, man. They make me fucking mad.
Yeah.
What's going on, big dog? Like, I guess they
Yeah,
kind of said that this was.
I agree with you on everything that happened. Like those people, even though they were basically going and harassing my family, saying that they would go and kill them and basically have sex with them on the.
See what I mean?
Guys'
See,
corpses.
that's the type of shit that would have never happened back in the days. Like when you had to come outside. That's these are. That's why I say like.
Is that fucking Peter Griffin?
Your old photos, bro.
I would love them to try.
Okay, I'll be back. I'll be back on in like I might be back in like an hour or I'll go to bed.
Hey, what's up? I didn't know if he was.
Good night,
Is
chat.
that the host? That's Jola?
Yeah, that's Jola.
Yeah, it's Jola.
What's up, man? Like they told me, one of your mods, Ray, he told me this is like not quite a waiting room, but more like your hangout spot until I guess they said you come in after hours.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
there's yeah. While he's on streaming, this is the waiting room, but people just end up arguing in here. So like,
I don't have enough time for
No.
everyone usually. I don't got enough time, but yeah.
Well, my shit would be too dry. My questions would be because they're all like foreign policy, national security shit, and it seems more domestically themed, as most politics are. It seems more domestically themed than you guys alive. But it's interesting. I listen. That's how I found this place. But
I mean,
the foreign policy stuff would be
just in general, I'll be on like I usually say, I'm usually live around 10 p.m. Eastern time. So I mean, those are your chances to get on. If you want to get on at 10 p.m. Eastern time, hop in here. We can get on.
Please
have
just
a
look up
conversation.
as a Trump supporter, you'll cringe. And then look up the word theory and read it to the chat.
Do you, the host, Joe,
Wait, who-
bro? You don't come in and kick it like after hours, maybe, or sometimes.
Sometimes if I'm bored.
Because the foreign policy shit, bro, it'll kill you. You know what I'm saying? It's like a buzzkill. Because you got a live stream. You know what I'm saying? And I hear how you converse.
Yeah, no one wants
with
to hear
people.
it.
That's what I'm saying. So like, you don't come in like this on the humble, just on chill time.
Yeah, I mean, I might hop in when I get McDonald's. Who's that Trump supporter that just spoke though?
Yeah, it's Fugazi.
Who's the one that said I'm
Talking
cringe?
about me?
No, which one said I'm cringe? They unmuted for a second, said I'm cringe.
Tyler Parker?
I
am Tyler Parker?
Was it the
It was
gay
Tyler Parker.
trans Muslim?
That's
Tyler
right.
Parker? It was
That
you?
type of silly shit is
Okay, I have one thing to tell you.
I believe
okay?
it was I am
What,
Tyler
you-
Parker.
No, it was the Muslim guy.
Oh, my bad.
Wasn't it?
I think any reasonable person would be a Trump supporter. No,
Oh, well, I
that was
think
not him.
okay, here's my big opinion on oh wait, they're gone. Shit. Okay, my bad. All right.
I would like to hear that opinion, though.
Did he?
Yeah, he ran.
No, I kicked him.
Did he just really?